a second chance to make a first impression.
You're watching ESPN, the Total Sports Network.
After a day of 100-degree temperatures and 50% humidity, storm clouds begin to roll in over Gateway International Raceway in Fairmont City, Illinois. It's been a great weekend at the Gateway Nationals. Let's take a look at series points as they stand right now, Ted.
Well, Richard Holcomb with that runner-up finish combined with the Winter Nationals victory goes to number 1. Jack Ostrander in 2, and John Carey holds down the 3rd position. In Nitro Funny Car, the Doctor is definitely in 1st place. Chuck Etchell's bringing up 2nd. Freddie Neely, the number 1 qualifier, to 3rd. Tommy Mooney still on top of that double victory, but Harold Denton nipping at his heels.
Don't forget, coming up is our secret race word, and you too can win a fully restored 1957 Chevy Bel Air from Dan Chuck Manufacturing in California. Get your pencils ready. We'll give you the race word and the address to send it to us. 1 postcard per family per show, and you too can win this beautiful car. That's it on the right, next to Tom McEwen's 57 Chevy Nitro Funny Car. Your postcard should be addressed to IHRA Race Word, Box 3029, Bristol, Tennessee 37625. The secret word for this weekend is hot rod. Put that on your postcards and send it to us. Our coverage of the Gateway Nationals has been brought to you by your Toyota dealers and their quality line of cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. By Orion Pictures. Watch for Navy SEAL and a special sneak preview July 15th, opening July 20th at theaters everywhere. And by CarQuest Auto Parts Stores. You'll find it at CarQuest. Our next ESPN telecast will be the Empire Nationals, Friday, August 3rd at 12 midnight Eastern Time. A final look at our winners, Doc Holliday, Richard Holcomb, and Tim Neighbors. I'm Bob Barsha for Ted Jones and Brett Kepner. Thanks for being with us from the Tosti Asti Spumani Gateway Nationals. So long from St. Louis, Missouri.
ESPN comes home to Salem, Indiana, site of our first race telecast. The Salem Superspeedway opened as an oil dirt track in June 1947. Like a storied stadium that has witnessed the great ball players, this high-banked half-mile speedway has seen the legendary names of motorsports pass beneath the checkered flag. A.J. Foyt, Bobby Unser here racing with Greg Weld. For decades, the 33-degree banking has presented a special challenge to racing drivers, and many of the greats have been romanced by the lure of the high banks. The action has been comparable to the other half-mile high-bank speedways such as Winchester, Indiana, and Bristol, Tennessee, super high speeds and bone-jarring crashes. But Salem has always been home to the greats. A.J. Foyt has won here 4 times. A youthful Johnny Rutherford has always had a fondness for the high banks. JR finds time between races to joke with Mario Andretti. Mario won his first USAC sprint car race here at Salem in '64. And the Winston Cup champions have also raced here. Benny Parsons has won twice, and back in the 70s, a young Darrell Waltrip won 6 in a row. But in 1981, the Speedway was in the destructive path of a July tornado, and the famed oval sat in disrepair for 7 years. Some would doubt the track could ever recapture the glory of yesteryear. But tonight, 11 years after our first race telecast, ESPN cameras have returned to Salem, Indiana for the 31st running of the Joe James Pat O'Connor Memorial Sprint Car Classic. On tap tonight from the rain-slickened temporary road course in Des Moines, Iowa, it's the SCCA Escort World Challenge. And can young Canadian Paul Tracy continue his dominance of the American Racing Series? We go to the Meadowlands in New Jersey. And live from the famed Salem Superspeedway, it's the 31st running of the Joe James Pat O'Connor USAC Sprint Car Classic. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Lee in Salem, Indiana, about 70 miles south of Indianapolis and about 30 miles north of Louisville, Kentucky. Standing alongside is a three-time USAC champion, Larry Rice, who himself won this prestigious event back in 1982 at the Terre Haute Action Track. But, Larry, we're at the high banks, and there's something magical about the banks.
Yes, Gary, there sure is, and the magic is in the speed. Everything here happens very, very quickly. You run very, very, very fast. You run 112 miles an hour. So anything that happens so quick that you don't have much reaction time to do anything. It's a love-hate relationship. You love this place when you conquer it, when you can really get your race car going fast and beat everybody. But you hate it when you can't get the race car to do what you want it to do.
Well, of course, USAC took a 7-year sabbatical from pavement sprint car racing. The cars have only been back on the pavement for 2 seasons. And, Larry, I would have to believe that to run these high-bank tracks will make all these youngsters better race drivers.
They have to know how to run a racetrack like this. All the money in racing today is on pavement. NASCAR, Indianapolis, all those kinds of races are run on fast pavement racetracks. If they can come here and conquer these racetracks at this kind of a speed, then they have a chance of going on. Mario Andretti, A.J. Foyt, these guys all won on the banks and went ahead to be great race car drivers.
We have concluded qualifying. We are ready now for the heat races. Here's the lineup for heat race number 1. Lineup with the fastest on the rear in the front row, Mike Blake and Charlie Workman. In the first row, Mike Blake and Charlie Workman. This is the inverted start, the fastest on the rear.
Take it up, Larry. You pick up the rows.
Okay, number 2 is Dave Durnwald at car number 19 and Steve Butler. Row number 3, I believe, Greg Staub in row number 3 and Bob Fry in last place. Our fast qualifier for the evening is Rich Vogler. He set a new track record, by the way, at over 115 miles an hour. So he is really on top of things.
Well, obviously, we had a mic problem there. We apologize for that. Now, Larry, we're back on the air, and this, once again, is the inverted start. The fastest on the rear, as you indicated, our fastest qualifier is Rich Vogler with a new track record. The first 4 finishers will transfer to the main event. They come off the 33-degree banking. We are looking for the start. Mike Blake brings them down. Charlie Workman has the outside as they roar into the first corner for the first heat race.
Okay, down the back straightaway. Dave Durnwald, Mike Blake has got the lead. Charlie Workman running second. This going into 3 is a very, very tough place to run low like they're trying to do down there. The faster guys are trying to sort themselves out right now and find a place to run to get around the guys up front.
Greg Staub from the Cincinnati, Ohio area has moved to 3rd position, and now it goes to the inside of Charlie Workman down the backstretch up to 2nd, and he set sail for the number 1 position. And notice how he diamonded off that corner, Larry. A very unique driving style up here in 3 and 4.
Down in 3 and 4 is a place where you can do that. You have to run right up to the fence in the middle of turn number 3. Oh, here comes Fry. He's running really well. And right behind him is Rich Vogler. But down here in 3, they run right straight up to the fence right here, and then they follow the contour. But if you're trying to get around somebody, you drop down and diamond off, just like you said.
Well, Bob Fry rides in 2nd position, that V6 Chevrolet. Now, he has the weight advantage because he's under 310 cubic inches, but we also have a small block V8, a 310 in Rich Vogler's number 1 car, the defending sprint car champion. So both those drivers have a weight advantage using a smaller engine.
That's exactly right, and that's the reason they use a smaller engine. Here you can see that through the corners, they're a little bit faster because they're 200 pounds lighter. Rich Vogler's out there, Bob Fry is out there. They both seem to be able to get through the corners a little bit better with that weight advantage. So they're willing to give up a little bit of horsepower for that weight.
Well, the first 3 drivers have really put the distance back to 4th position. Mike Blake runs in 4th right now, and he's being challenged by Steve Butler. But there is the battle for the lead.
Yes, Rich Vogler seems to be very quick tonight. This thing is really running. The 310 cubic inch V8 should have a little more horsepower than the V6, I would think. So he's going to work on him and try to use that weight advantage and a little bit more horsepower to get around Bob Fry.
But keep in mind, they've had a chance to make some chassis adjustments to Bob Fry's car. There's the white flag, 1 lap to go. So Bob Fry, well, let's see if he can hang on and hold off our new track record holder, the defending USAC Sprint Car champion, who's had a very active weekend. We'll talk more about that during the remainder of our racing program this evening. Here it is, off the corner, and yes, Bob Fry hangs on for the victory. Bob Fry wins it.
Yes, he did a great job. He ran the racetrack perfectly. Rich had no place to go. When you're running that fast, you have to be running quite a bit faster than the guy in front of you in order to get around him. Bob Fry used the racetrack well. He ran right in the right place on the racetrack, and Rich just had no place to go.
Three-time USAC Sprint Car champion Steve Butler out of Kokomo, Indiana, in the Aristocrat car finishes fourth. But we had such a great battle at the front of the pack, we really couldn't show you make that last transfer position. But Butler will transfer in the fourth position. And once again, your victor, Bob Fry, out of Wickenburg, Arizona, works for a mortuary out there, the Sunland Mortuaries of all things.
That's right. He works for that mortuary, and they gave him time off to go racing. It's a long commute. Okay, here we come. Bob Fry is right in the groove. Rich Vogler tries to do the diamond. He tries to come off low, just like you were talking about, coming down for the checkered flag, but he doesn't have the momentum. He doesn't have the speed to pull that off. He pulls right in behind him again and settles for second spot at that point. That's all he could do.
Well, simply by clipping off that corner as he tried to do, he lost his momentum and he couldn't pull alongside. And so, once again, he may have been the fast qualifier, but he can only finish second to Bob Fry, so we'll see what changes they may make in those cars and the chassis before the feature race, but they obviously will be in the feature this evening. Bob Fry wins it. Rich Vogler finishes second. Greg Staub takes third. And Steve Butler, the final transfer position, and he finishes in the fourth position. We mentioned Vogler having a very hectic weekend, making his Winston Cup debut at Pocono. He qualified 38th today, flew here, and he'll fly back after this race.
Yes,
a lot of airtime.
Yes. He was 32nd actually today. He was 38th yesterday. He improved today up to 32nd, and he's only about 4 or 5 miles an hour off the top speed. So I think he's pretty happy with where he's at Pocono right now.
We would also like to welcome a new member of the broadcast crew here this evening, Dave Calabro, standing by in Victory Lane. Dave.
Well, thank you very much, Gary. Down here with Bob Fry. Bob, you had a great challenge going on there, Rich Vogler, and you held him off.
Well, I'll tell you, our Nival Engines, Parker Machinery, Hoosier Tire car was working pretty good. You know, we missed on our qualifying setup, and so we kind of wanted to do some experimenting. We figured that the feature, or that the heat race would be the time to do some experimenting. So I think we're going to go quicker yet for the feature.
At the last lap, you held him off.
Well, I'll tell you, I knew he was coming and I was getting signals, so I wanted to run only as hard as I had to keep him behind me, because I didn't want to abuse our tires. So we probably are going to make some adjustments and use them in the feature.
2 years ago, almost to the day, you won here. Could this be the night for you again?
Well, I'll tell you, if you look at the qualifying times tonight for this Joe James Pat O'Connor race, I know between second and my qualifying time of fifth, there was only 1/10 of a second. There's probably another 1/10 of a second between fifth and 10th. So there's probably 10 cars out here that are so close that it's going to be a very tight race tonight.
All right, Bob, thank you very much for joining us. Gary, we'll take it back to you. Bob Fry wins the first heat.
Well, as we were talking, Bob Fry made some chassis adjustments and was able to hold off Rich Vogler. So a lot of chassis adjustments will be made down there. And, of course, we're coming back with a lot more motorsports action live from the Salem Super Speedway in southern Indiana.
You don't have to worry when rain keeps pouring down, 'cause your home can take it, whatever comes around.
Linseed oil penetrates wood. Sealants protect the surface. Olympic weather screen.
It's no wonder we'll stop the rain.
Olympic stops the rain.
Protect your home with Olympic products now and save an additional $2 per gallon.
Kodacolor Gold 100.
I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors. That's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors.
Kodacolor Gold 100 film. No print film anywhere gives you truer, more accurate, more realistic color.
True colors are beautiful, like a rainbow.
Why are you doing this? To see if there's anything out there beyond death.
I'm going next.
It's too dangerous. It is reckless, immoral, and unethical.
Running out of time.
Starting CPR. You're not real. Got her. You don't have her. No!
Flatliners. Rated R. Starts Friday, August 10th at select theaters.
Back of a back. Can't be beat with baseball. 4 nights a week. Major League. Under the lights. ESPN baseball tonight. Tuesday, Friday, doubleheader. Wednesday. It's nothing better. Catch it Sunday. Watch the fun. Sunday night.
The Red Sox face the Royals on Sunday Night Baseball, live at 8 Eastern on ESPN.
Baseball tonight.
ESPN Saturday Night Thunder is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. By Budweiser, the king of beers. Remember, know when to say when. And by Buick and your local Buick dealer. The Great American Road belongs to Buick. Well, despite the threat of rain, we had a beautiful sunset here in southern Indiana. But, of course, with these kind of cars, if it rains, they can't run. But on the road courses of America, they do run in the rain. And that's exactly what happened up in Des Moines, Iowa on the temporary road course for the SCCA Escort World Challenge racing in the rain. Let's take you now to Bob Jenkins.
Thanks, Gary. We are in Des Moines, Iowa, and it is raining, and that should make for some exciting competition here this afternoon. We're covering the SCCA Escort World Challenge. This is a brand new division this year. It combines last year's showroom stock and Corvette Challenge. The rain tires are on. It should be exciting on this 1.8-mile circuit in the streets of downtown Des Moines. Tom Kendall will be joining me in the booth for his commentary. Right now, let's take a look at the starting lineup. On the pole for today's race will be Scott Lagasse driving a Lotus, R.K. Smith alongside in a Corvette. Second row, Boris Sett in a Corvette and Doc Bundy in a Lotus. In the third row, it's Lou Gelati in a Corvette and Claude Poirier in a Corvette. Going to the next row, it's John Heinrichs in a Corvette and Andrew Pilgrim also in a Corvette. The final World Challenge Cup car is Ken Wallace driving a Corvette. Then we go to the super production cars, and you'll see the rest of the starting lineup. Several familiar names in the lineup, several from the Trans Am division, from the truck series that SCCA runs. A very, very good field of cars, 24 in all on hand here for what should be a very exciting 45 minutes of racing. It has rained hard. At the moment, I don't think it's raining at all, but it is a very wet racetrack, and I'm not so sure about why we don't have standing water in some places. We're inside Doc Bundy's Lotus as he comes down for the green flag. Here we go with 45 minutes of racing in the SCCA World Challenge. Into quarter number one is the side-by-side battle between the two cars that started in the front row, and now they go down between turns 1 and 2, and still pretty much side by side, but now R.K. Smith moves into the lead as we watch the rest of the field go through this corner, or at least attempt so. Look at Doc Bundy. He is way out of shape, Tommy.
Interestingly enough, Doc Bundy is the only car in the top 9 that did not have ABS brakes. He chose not to go with an experimental system. His teammate, Scott Lagasse, did, and it's already showing up.
Now, explain, if you will, what an ABS braking system is, or what it does, and how it is different from the other type.
It's actually hooked to a wheel speed sensor, and it senses much quicker than the human foot can, and it actually backs off the brake pedal if one wheel begins to lock up. So it's controlled by a microcomputer, and it's showing already the Corvettes are moving right to the front. Scott Lagasse is having trouble, getting it slowed down.
Yeah, he got way wide coming out of one of the corners, and he has dropped back to third position. It is still R.K. Smith showing away, and now Boris Sett in that red number 3 Corvette is in second position. Here is a replay of Doc Bundy. Watch the left of your screen, and Doc just simply can't make the corner.
Yeah, you see all the Corvettes just freight training down the inside, and Doc was looking where he wanted to go, and the car had a mind of its own.
It didn't go where Doc wanted it to go, and as a result, he is way at the back of the field. And here's a car into the tires slightly, not real serious incident. That is Chuck Hemmingson, a local driver from Des Moines, Iowa, who is also active in the SCCA Race Truck Challenge Series. As a matter of fact, he won his first Race Truck Challenge a year ago here on this course. And here is a replay. May have had some help. Yeah, you can see one of the cars there, the number 33 car of Tommy Archer, getting out of shape and essentially pushing him into the tire wall.
And Tommy might have had some help from none other than Mark Walicek in the Beretta. It was a three-way. It's hard to point the finger at anyone there.
Well, it's going to be hard to point the finger at anyone if the conditions continue as they are right now, with this track being very, very slick, and the windshield wipers are on for the most part, all the cars, as they maneuver around this 1.8-mile circuit here in the streets of Des Moines. That's R.K. Smith showing the way in the number 50 Corvette. He started outside of the front row. We're at the Escort World Challenge race from the streets of Des Moines, Iowa, and we'll be right back after this.
Looks like you're sitting right here on this porch, the porch of this house. And when was that? She's lived in this house for 50 years. and the siding was literally rotting away from the house. And they're out there today with a crew of 5, tearing it down, going to put it back up today, paint it good as new. It's really a lovely story.
Barbara Callahan, one of the people of Newswatch 8.
Joel, I appreciate you bringing your car in today for tires and tune-up problem. We can find and fix it. We've got the best trained people and the finest equipment.
Jim, I understand that you've been in the tire and auto service business for quite some time.
Since 1957. In some cases, we're serving third-generation family, grandfather, father, and son. And it's a real pleasure to have customers like that.
Brandon Tire and Auto Service, open 7 to 7, Monday through Saturday.
We're back in Des Moines, Iowa, where the rain has ceased. However, the track remains very, very wet. This is SCCA World Challenge Racing. There's the third-place Lotus, driven by Scott Lagasse. Oh, those are beautiful cars.
They really are. It's almost a shame to see them take to the racetrack. Most people wouldn't think of taking an exotic like that to the racetrack, but Lotus, their heritage really is testing what they run, sell in the street in the racetrack. Colin Chapman began that back in the 50s, and it's carried forward till today.
Scott combined with his teammate Doc Bundy to win the very first race of this series at Sears Point earlier this year. So Scott already with a victory in the World Challenge competition. R.K. Smith showing the way, the red Corvette of Boris Said a little bit sideways, and I'll tell you, Scott Lagasse is right there on the rear bumper of Boris Sad's bright red Corvette.
One of the things Scott's having to deal with, it's funny enough, he spent most of his time, getting real crossed up there, spent most of his time racing in the Corvette Challenge Series, so he knows the cars he's racing against inside out, and he's having to deal with turbo lag, which is something that he didn't have to deal with last year, and that really rears its ugly head, especially in the rain.
As I mentioned at the beginning of the program, this is actually 2 series from last year combined. The Corvette Challenge and the Showroom Stock Series that SCCA ran, they combined these 2 series, and it's really proving to be a very successful series. The faster cars, of course, up front, we have 9 of those in the competition here this afternoon. And then the super production cars, the Eagle Talons and the Hondas and that type of car.
Conspicuous by their absence are the Mazda RX-7 turbos and the Nissan 300ZXs. They've decided to take this round off because it's really hard to develop a car while you're racing it. So they chose to spend some time at the test track, and they'll join the series at a later date.
Bobby Archer. Now we pick up on this battle. Irv Hare driving number 15 there, and the 33 of Tommy Archer from Duluth, Minnesota. Oh, some smoke pouring from that car. He's got a problem, Tom.
Yeah, that looks like, if I were to say it, I would think that the turbo has let go in that Talon in a big way.
In a big way. He has got some major smoke problems coming out of the back end of that car and causing some visibility problems for those behind, as if they don't have enough visibility problems with the rain lifting up off of the course. So Tommy Archer gets his car to a position where it is not endangering any other.
That's a tough break for Tommy. Moments before the start, I was talking with him during this delay, and he said that he felt the Talons, at least in the wet weather, had a real good chance of challenging even the Corvettes because of their superior wet weather traction.
Bobby was the winner of the super production class in Dallas earlier this year. There's the lead that's been built up by R.K. Smith over second and third place, and they continue to run very close. The number 3 of Morissette and the 17 of Lagasse. Tremendous amount of smoke from Archer's car, and you can see how it is creating some serious visibility problems for the drivers behind. The smoke now just beginning to clear from that area at turn number 12. Lagasse and number 17, the White Lotus, chasing the second place car of Said. Let's go down to John Kernan, who's with Tommy Archer.
Well, Tommy, early into your day, not quite sure exactly what has happened to the car?
No, we experienced a little mechanical, it's a little bump and shove out there. I got bumped into a wall early by the 45 car, and, I don't know if it did any damage up front or not. I definitely got a bent front wheel, and, today just wasn't our day.
There you have it, Bob. All right, tough break for Tommy, who drops out of competition after putting up a big smoke screen on the race course. This battle here continues to be the best one on the racetrack between the second place Zed and the 17 of Scott Lagasse. R.K. Smith has pulled out to an advantage. There you can see the advantage that R.K. has in that Corvette. We're at the Escort World Challenge race from the streets of Des Moines, Iowa, and we'll be right back after this.
What makes a Quaker State engine so tough? One tough motor oil. And being tough takes more than just talking tough. There's a brand that says it's been engineered for smaller engines. Well, Quaker State has been tested tough for small engines in Japan, in Europe, and in America. In fact, Quaker State has toughed out the most demanding specs for every size engine in every size car sold in the U.S. What makes any size Quaker State engine so tough? Quality engineered Quaker State. The big Q is one tough motor oil.
Hey, come on. Is this any way to spend the summer? No. Make it a Bud summer with Budweiser, Bud Light, and Bud Dry. Check inside 12 packs and you could win one of 100 Bud label pools. Look for me, Jeff Altman, where you buy your favorite beer, because we're giving away pools all summer long. It's wet. It's wild. It's Bud summer. Hey, man, you need sunscreen. You're starting to peel. Whoo!
All the deep-down quality that makes a Buick so enjoyable on a Saturday afternoon is forged in the heat of weekends we spend throughout the year. So while you're considering the ownership of a bright new Buick, rest assured that Buick engineers are out at the nation's racetracks, racing to make your new Buick even better. Buick, the new symbol for quality in America.
Escort World Challenge race in Des Moines, Iowa, and we now move ahead in our coverage. Setting into the corner is the number 28. The 31 and 36 are battling for position. That is Mitch Wright. There at number 31.
That's your lead in the Super Production Series. That's Peter Cunningham directly behind him. And
28 car got really wide. Keith Fulkerson, yellow number 28.
Both of these drivers should feel right at home. They both have a significant amount of experience ice racing. Peter Cunningham, I believe, won the championship during this past off-season up in Minnesota.
Yeah, the slick conditions are right at home for them. Although driving on ice and driving on rain-slick pavement, there's just a little bit of difference. There's a 28 car. Well, we noticed him go wide in the previous corner, and now he missed the corner and went into the runoff area. That is Keith Fulkerson from Findlay, Ohio, driving a Honda CRX SI. Looking for third position now. Here comes Scott Lagasse in the Lotus, and we might mention that his teammate, Doc Bundy, continues to move up. Here comes the leader, R.K. Smith, and we'll be seeing a checkered flag before too long. Many times, where is the best opportunity to pass, or is there one place in particular?
Well, at the end of the longer straightaways, assuming you're going to be for horsepower, apparently Peter's not able to run quite the Eagle Talon down the straightaway, so he's just got to kind of pass when he gets there, not really look for his best spot. That one complex coming out from by the convention center there, he's able to get a real run. It's very, very bumpy. Slowing the Talon down a little bit, and he's able to slip that Honda up on the rear bumper. It's a good opportunity because anytime you go from a left to a right, you're crisscrossing the racetrack, and that, look, it's right underneath the back there.
Yeah, you can see how in the corners that Cunningham is able to close in. Here it is. He's got him this time. Well, let's see if Mitch can take the position back. They're side by side, mirror to mirror, and now Cunningham does make the pass successfully and takes over the position. But don't count Mitch Wright out.
Coming up to one of the straightaways where the Eagles seem to have a bit of an edge before. If he can get a good shot out this corner, looks like Peter got a very good shot to help protect himself. And Mitch is not going to give up yet.
Here comes Mitch, taking the higher line on the racetrack.
He's out in the wet stuff. He might not make this corner.
Oh, yes, he did. He got the position back. Good, close racing.
As if they didn't have enough to worry about, Doc Bundy and the other Pure Sports Lotus is coming up on this intense battle.
Here's the leader, R.K. Smith, and the race is going to be over for him in just a few moments.
Look at that.
There it
On
is.
the gas.
The checkered flag.
Beautiful drive by R.K.
Wright in number 31, Cunningham in 36. Battling for the top spot in super production and for 9th and 10th for 9th position overall. It appears as if Wright may have the win.
There he goes. Checkered flag.
And there it is. So Mitch Wright does win the super production class. Mitch Wright in number 31. And the overall winner of the race is R.K. Smith.
What you saw there on the last lap, there are some people who say anything goes on the last lap, and that includes defensive driving. And Mitch, played that pretty smart. He remembered where Peter had a run on him before, and was just a little bit more defensive and kind of headed off any attempt at a pass that Peter might make.
Mitch Wright's best finish this year was 4th. However, he wins the super production class here today. R.K. Smith, the overall winner in his Corvette. Well, there are the standings, and we'll be back to talk with the winner, R.K. Smith, in just a moment.
When you put a Pioneer 6-disc CD system in your car, you get a lot more out of your music.
Hey, come on. Is this any way to spend the summer? No. Make it a Bud summer with Budweiser, Bud Light, and Bud Dry. Check inside 12 packs and you could win one of 100 Bud label pools. Look for me, Jeff Altman, where you buy your favorite beer, because we're giving away pools all summer long. It's wet. It's wild. It's Bud summer. Hey, man, you need sunscreen. You're starting to peel. Whew.
It's a little bit rainy out there, but you were able to maintain your pace and hold them on.
Well, yeah, I think it was the Corvette certainly worked good today, and we didn't know what we had when we started because of the we hadn't practiced in the rain here, but it certainly did work out well. We tried to run a pace that was quick enough to lead and yet not anything to get into trouble with, and so it seemed to work out. And I really want to. There's some people I really want to thank. One is Jay Gerndyke, who's not here today, back in the hospital. He has been at all the races, and just want to say hi to him and thank him for his support. And we miss him. I want to say thanks to Dyline and Lobdell Emery, and certainly Paul Motorsports. Without Paul Thiessen, I guess we just wouldn't be any place here today. So it's really without a good handling car, I mean, I just couldn't have done anything.
Very thankful, R.K. Smith. Now, Mitch, also thankful day for you. A pretty good run out there.
Oh, boy, I'll tell you. PD was all over me. I couldn't shake him. He'd catch me on the backside of the track, and my Eagle Talon just was able to pull him a little bit on the straightaways, and that was our saving grace. But I'll tell you, racing with a guy like PD is great. We ran door handle a couple times, and we never touched, and we had a great time. It was a fun race, and both of us, I think, drove 12 tenths.
I'd have to concur, Bob. A very fun race.
Well, thanks, John. And now we take a look at the top 20 finishers in our SCCA Escort World Challenge here this afternoon in the streets of Des Moines, Iowa. The overall winner, of course, was R.K. Smith. That great battle for the super production class. was finally won by Mitch Wright, who finished 9th overall. Thank you for joining us here in Des Moines for the Escort World Challenge. Now let's go to Gary Lee.
Well, thank you, Bob, and our congratulations to RK and Mitch. And, of course, next week we'll have the USAC Midgets for you from Claremont, Indiana. Right now, though, we're live at the Salem Speedway in southern Indiana for the Joe James Paddle Cunner Memorial. More coming up. Stay with us.
Don't stop short of the beat, 'cause second best won't do. There's a pride in peak performing.
Take more than 650 horsepower, wide open, for 500 miles. You need maximum protection to cool it.
I want the maximum going for me. That's why I've got peak on my car and in my car every time.
Don't stop short of the peak. No, don't stop short of the peak.
The baby in this picture is going to have a very special year. A year of first steps, first words, first birthday. And none of these firsts will ever happen again. Now, if you were this baby's parents, which film would you choose? No other film in the world gives you truer color than Kodacolor Gold film. Aren't your pictures worth gold?
David Calabro, Larry Rice, and Gary Lee back live with you from southern Indiana at the Salem Speedway for the USAC Sprint Series. This is the 31st running of the Joe James Paddle Cunner Memorial, named after a couple of pretty fair sprint car drivers in their own right, both Midwest sprint car champions back in the 50s and both fatally injured in racing accidents. We have 4 heat races this evening as we take a look at highlights now from our second heat race. And this is the newest car out here, obviously leading right now. This is young Rick Howard, and this car was actually just a bare frame. It's a new Beast chassis that was picked up on Wednesday from the Bob B shop, put together. It's leading right now with Gene Lee Gibson right behind him.
He did a very good job. He's a pretty young race car driver. He doesn't have a lot of experience, and you can see the right front brake. He really had the brakes hot on that race car, but he kept it in the groove, he kept the thing straight, and he made everybody else hunt for another place to go around him, and they just couldn't quite do it.
That is Jeff Bloom in the blue and white number 67. He rides in third, and Don Schilling, who has vast experience in midgets, but his first series this year in the sprint cars, rides in fourth.
I'll tell you what, these are all pretty good pavement race car drivers. Gene Lee Gibson, Jeff Bloom, they've been around a long, long time. They do a real good job on the pavement. And for Rick Howerton to come out here and beat these guys at their own game on a racetrack like this, I think he did a whale of a job.
Well, a couple of second-generation drivers. There's the hot break, finishing 1-2. Rick Howerton, the son of Jackie Howerton, and Gene Lee, the son of Todd Gibson. So here are your 4 that transfer from heat race number 2, Rick Howerton, Gene Lee Gibson, Jeff Bloom, and Don Schilling. Once again, we have 4 heat races here this evening, and we take the first 4 from each heat race, and then we move those in. We'll take 4 from the semi as we take some highlights now from heat race number 3. And I tell you, this was a wild event with the inverted start, the fastest in the rear as they come down now for the start. Red Stauffer gets the jump in the red number 21, but some good battling back in the pack. Bob Ciccone in the black number 2.
Yes, Wayne Hammond back there. Jim Mahoney's running in second place. They're all trying real hard to get up there. Red Stauffer is holding them up just a little bit, and everybody else is jumping up behind him and trying to get around, but it's pretty tough here. This is a tough place to go get around a guy, and it's really, really fast.
One of the bright young stars in the USAC Sprint Series is there's a good attempt to pass by Wayne Hammond, but in that white number 2, this is Eric Gordon. No relation to Jeff Gordon, but he's a graduate of quarter midgets, moved into sprint car competition, and for the first time in his career, he has some real good equipment. Now watch this move by number 2. Watch the white number 2 there as he's working on Wayne Hammond. Now, a little later in the race, now keep an eye once again on this move by the white number 2, young Eric Gordon out of Greenfield, Indiana. And as the battle continues, he moves to the inside and gets 2 positions.
Yes, those guys, he's got a good run off the corner. Those guys both pushed a little bit. He got a good run on them and went right past them while they were trying to gather up their race cars.
Now, we talk about a wild race coming off the second corner down the backstretch. Adams on the inside gets together with Hammond. Now, watch Hammond take a complete 360. He's on the brakes, comes off the, he's going the right direction, out of the smoke. Adams spins around, makes very light contact, But look at Hammond. He continues on.
That's right. I think that all got started when Eric Gordon got a little out of shape, and everybody tried to, you know, things happen so quick. They were trying to avoid what was going to happen to him, and then the melee, they got together and ended up with Donnie Adams being spun out.
Larry, you talked at the very beginning of the show. Things happen in a hurry when you're racing on a high bank racetrack.
You take one quick instant, and you've got just that instant to react, and that's what happened there. They reacted, they made a little mistake.
Well, here are your results from heat race number 3. Eric Gordon, the youngster, wins it. Wayne Hammond from Tampa, Florida, up for second. Red Stauffer was third, and Bob Ciccone finishes fourth. And right now, Eric is standing by in the pit area with Dave Calabro.
Well, actually, we have Rick Howerton is with us. Is everybody getting in place here? He won heat 2, and when you came in, the disc brakes were glowing, red hot. A problem later on?
Hopefully we'll be able to fix it. Right now we've got a little bit too much front brake, and the fronts are overworking the rears. So we'll put some harder pads on the rear, and hopefully we won't have any problems.
All right, Rick Howerton, the winner of heat number 2. We'll throw it back up to you, Gary, in the booth.
We talked about Rick Howerton having a brand new race car. They just picked this car up as a bare frame on Wednesday afternoon. Really worked and hustled. Well, look at this. We've lost some lights along the front straightaway. I recall announcing a race one night at Eldora Speedway. I think perhaps you were driving that night when the lights went out.
That's right.
Scary on the racetrack.
That's right. You go into a corner and the lights go out, and you wonder what the heck's going to happen next. But it'll be a real thrill to run around here like this, I'll tell you.
We were talking about Rick Howerton putting that race car together. He is a second-generation driver, the son of Jackie Howerton. And I talked to Jackie this week, and he said, you know, look at the spotlight. We got a searchlight out here in the infield. We may have to bring that truck over here and shoot it down the main straightaway.
This happened one time, Gary. Gary, we were in New Zealand one time, or in Australia, excuse me, and half the lights went out. So they lined up cars on the inside of the racetrack with their headlights shining out there. We ran the rest of the race like that.
The only problem is if they do it here, the lights are going to be right in our eyes.
I'll tell you what, it was pretty exciting. That wasn't a very fast place.
Well, we're going to call the electrician and see if we can't get some power to the lights along the front straightaway. It could be a very interesting night. Please stay with us. We have more coming your way.
Hey, what's up? Dad traded our Jeep Cherokee in on a new Ford Explorer? Come on, Mom, easy on the merchandise. Hey, check it out. This Explorer has possibilities. It's got a lot more room inside. Vroom, vroom. Come on, Dad, let's move it. Wow, feels like V6 power to me. Man, we used to never get looks like that before. Oh, man, this longer wheelbase sure smooths out the ride. Mom says Dad saved big bucks in this Explorer. Still, I wonder if I'll miss the old... Nah.
3/4 inch plywood, $9.99. 5/8 inch, $7.99. Ceramic floor tile, large selections, 8 inch by 8 inch, 44 cents. Paneling on sale, too. $5.99, nothing over $8.99.
Briarwood kitchen cabinets, all boxes, $40 to $60. This 10-foot kitchen is only $330. Prestige cabinets, all solid wood, no particle board. Oak doors, $99. Bay City plywood, Tappan, Parnella, see your yellow pages.
Hey, Scotty, I'm sneaking and peeking.
And Danny Sullivan test their skills on a gripping road course. They headline the field at the $1 million Toronto Indy, Sunday at midnight Eastern on ESPN.
What's the old song? The night the lights went out in Georgia. We're in southern Indiana. Larry Rice, the lights just went out. We had a bank of lights go out along the front straightaway, and as the electricians try to work on that so we can have this fourth heat, we're going to take you to the Meadowlands for the American Racing Series. Derek Daly, Chris McClure, and yours truly to call it for you.
We're at the Meadowlands, 1.2 miles, 6-turn temporary road facility here. The ARS cars are doing their final warm-up for what is round 7 of the American Racing Series.
And to no one's surprise, Paul Tracy, the dominant figure in ARS competition, starts at the pole alongside Ted Prappas. In row 2, P.J. Jones, the French lady, Kathy Mueller. In the third row, Mike Snow and Mark Smith. In row 4 on the inside, Justin Bell. Outside, Robbie Groff. We move to row 5, shared by Robbie Buell and Marty Roth. In the 6th row on the inside, Benicio Sami. Outside, Mark Rodriguez. And starting alone in row 7, Tom Kristoff. Only 13 starters here at the Meadowlands. round 7 of the 1990 ARS Series. A good jump at the start for Paul Tracy.
And it was a jump, in fact, almost single file as we see Tracy get an excellent start. P.J. Jones in the American Racing Wheels also got a good start. Frappes is second, though, and Mike Snow got a good start in 5th place in the grid, now running 4th.
Well, P.J. Jones finished second last week in Cleveland after spinning out early in the race, going to the back of the pack. Right now he is third. Ted Frappes is second, but they're all chasing the guys they've been chasing all season, Paul Tracy.
And it's in fact teammates running the second and third. Ted Frappes in the PIG Say No to Drugs entry, the teammate of P.J. Jones in the American Racing Wheels entry.
We mentioned Cleveland last week, a very wide-open racetrack, very forgiving. Unlike this track here, this is very tight, very narrow, and a very precise course. A mistake can cost.
A mistake can end your day very, very quickly here because even a slight rub of the wall can do a lot of damage. See, the walls are everywhere around here. A small mistake can be the end of your day.
Well, the first 4 starting to pull away just a bit, and a gap back to 5th, and Kathy Mueller. A good qualifying effort for the young lady from France. She started 4th. She now rides in 5th. Mark Smith is 6th, and 7th is Justin Bell.
Kathy Mueller, in fact, was only 1/10 of a second slower than Paul Tracy, the dominant figure in this year's ARS. I'm sure she'll take good note of that and look forward to future races.
Robbie Groff in the number 11 car right now is beginning to pressure Justin Bell.
Running in 6th place is Mark Smith, an unusual color scheme because his Evergreen Aviation car, one was heavily damaged at Cleveland last week. His regular car, or his spare car that he used at Cleveland, was unable to be used. So this is actually Peter Lockhart's original car.
And he begins to apply the pressure to Kathy Mueller. That is a battle for 5th.
Kathy Mueller, the French lady, having her, by far, her best race in ARS.
Indeed, she is riding 5th right now as we look at the leaderboard. Paul Tracy continues to show the way with Ted Frappes 2nd. Then it's P.J. Jones, Mike Snow, and Kathy Mueller.
All the deep-down quality that makes a Buick so enjoyable on a Saturday afternoon is forged in the heat of weekends we spend throughout the year. So while you're considering the ownership of a bright new Buick, rest assured that Buick engineers are out at the nation's racetracks, racing to make your new Buick even better. Buick, the new symbol for quality in America.
It's one of the most technologically advanced, most rigorously tested fluids on Earth, relentlessly measured for maximum protection against the friction, the wear and tear, the heat and stress of today's engine. It is today's Quaker State. In Europe, in Japan, in America, Quaker State quality has passed the most demanding tests automakers can throw at it. At Quaker State, we don't just say we're tough, we're tested tough. The Big Q is one tough motor oil.
ESPN's live USAC Racing is brought to you by Levi's 505 and 506 jeans. By Quaker State, the Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Energizer batteries. Nothing outlasts the Energizer. Back at the Middleland Sports Complex for the American Racing Series, stop number 7 on a 14-race schedule. There is Mike Snow. He rides in 4th position right now. He started 5th up to 4th, and he is setting sail now for P.J. Jones, who is in 3rd position. A look at Kathy Mueller in the Rain X car number 4. She is holding off Mark Smith now. Mark, a rookie, tied for 2nd in the point standings. Here's Chris McClure.
Gary, 3 of the front 4 positions, of course, belong to people that are used to being up there, in Paul Tracy, Ted Frappes, and P.J. Jones. But Kathy Mueller found this course to her liking, no question about that. Qualified in 4th position. That's 3 better than she'd ever done before, and this is her rookie season in ARS. The question is, can she sustain that position or improve on it as the race goes on? We'll see.
Mark Smith looks to the inside and finds trouble there.
Oh, Mark Smith looked down the outside first, saw there was no room there, came down the inside, and really just got pinched, it looked like, in that left-hander. Put the power on, car just got away from him.
And Marty Roth was at the wrong spot at the wrong time as he got caught up and had to stop on the racetrack until the way was cleared.
Paul Tracy still leads, already has 5 wins this year, but Ted Frappes is absolutely right behind him in 2nd place.
Well, Ted Prappis is presently tied for second in the point standings. As he takes us for a ride, we look over his left shoulder with the Buick car cam.
We hear him go down through the gearbox, down to third gear, up through the gearbox now, up to top gear. This is the long back stretch. This is the fastest part of the course. That's Paul Tracy right in front of him. That's a bird's eye view. Note he catches Tracy under braking, selects second gear, and off through this little left, left complex. So Ted Prappis is right in there right at the moment.
These cars are so evenly matched, and this course is so tight. I would think at this point it's up to Ted to drive to his potential and perhaps wait for Paul to make a mistake.
Well, hope Paul makes a mistake. Paul Tracy has not made many mistakes this year.
There's the battle for fifth position. Justin Bell, the second-generation driver, the son of endurance driver Derek Bell, right on the heels of Kathy Mueller.
And right behind them in 7th and 8th place are the two Robbies, Robbie Groff and Robbie Buell, having a good battle.
Robbie Groff was second last year in the Super V standings. Robbie Buell victorious in the Barber Saab Series. They're using this as a springboard onto other forms of motorsports, perhaps the Indy cars. But I'm impressed with this ride by Kathy Mueller. A good ride, a good qualifying effort, right now in 5th position.
To give you an idea how good the qualifying effort was, she was only 1/10 of a second slower than Mr. Domination, Paul Tracy. So that really gives her great hope for future races.
5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th right together on the racetrack, and Justin Bell looking inside, looking outside, but cannot find a spot to go by.
Cannot find a spot, but growing ever impatient because Paul Tracy, this man here in the Sherwin-Williams car, is edging away from that pack of 4 cars.
Last week at Cleveland, after P.J. Jones dropped to the back of the pack, he had to be the fastest car-driver combination on that particular day, despite finishing second. I think today, however, your fastest combination is leading this race.
That's right, and you mentioned P.J. Jones. In fact, he has disappeared because he made contact, we think, with something, but a suspension broke on that car in some way.
So he drops from the race when he was running third, and there is Justin Bell. A good ride may be ended for the young man from England. Paul Tracy continues to lead 6 career ARS victories. Ted Prappis is tied for second in the point standings this year. He rides in second as we go back to the cockpit and Ted Prappis.
Ted Prappis still hangs on to Paul Tracy. That's Tracy right in front of him. We're seeing exactly what Prappis sees. Note the little movements of the steering wheel just to keep that car straight. We can hear the gear changing. 2 hands, then go back on the wheel. We're now under heavy, heavy braking. There's Tracy. He is not pulling away from Ted Prappis right now.
Well, Prappis closes in under braking, but that distance between the two has remained constant throughout much of this race. We look back to 5th, 6th, and 7th.
That's right, the two Robbies still battling, trying to catch our French lady, Kathy Mueller, having her best race in that Rain-X car. That car actually is black. You may remember Steve Shelton. This actually was his car for the first couple of races of this year. He's now gone back to running his Ferrari dealership. Business commitments being too much to take time out.
Only 13 cars started this race, and we are seeing, oh, another problem here. This is Justin Bell. We had just seen Justin in the pit area earlier with some mechanical problems. He returns to the fray, but it looks like the day will be over this time for sure.
Well, that rear wing is gone. We see him. He loses it under braking. Now, Tom Kristoff is involved in this. Look at Kristoff. They either made contact before it happened, but Kristoff's front wings are gone. There's the front wings, and it leads to a double yellow.
Well, a full course yellow right now as the field bunches up behind your leader, Paul Tracy. Ted Prappis may have a shot on the restart. Then it's Mike Snow, Kathy Mueller, and Robbie Groff.
At Burger King, that flame-broiled taste you've always loved is about to take a new turn to chicken. Introducing the BK Broiler. For a chicken sandwich with that flame-broiled taste, sometimes you've got to break the rules.
Ninja Turtles are hard to capture. But Burger King's got them. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cups, 39 cents each when you buy any drink. To capture these Ninja Turtles, sometimes you've got to break the rules.
We put our Firestone Firehawk GTX to the test, and won. The H-rated Firestone Firehawk GTX all-season performance radio, head-to-head against Goodyear, Goodrich, and General. It beat them all. Firestone, tires that meet the test.
I'm beat. So's the competition.
The Firestone Firehawk GTX, backed by a 40,000-mile limited treadwear warranty. See it at your Firestone retailer today.
back at the Meadowlands, we have just gone green again into the full course yellow to clear the track of Justin Bell's car.
Of course, now we're in lap traffic. Kathy Mueller still wages that battle with the two Robbies, Groff and Buell, but now she has a lot of traffic ahead of her between herself and Paul Tracy.
Well, Kathy Mueller is right behind Mike Snow in the Bradley Food Mart entry. He now is in third position, so in heavy traffic, you can see him lock up the brakes and smoke them just a bit there as they go by Marty Roth.
Tries to get down inside Marty Roth. Marty didn't give him a whole lot of room. Now look at Mueller down the outside. The two Robbies come down the inside. Groff makes it. Robbie Buell doesn't, has to wait. Robbie Buell gets it sideways, going through the right-hander. That gives you an idea just how hard everybody tries here.
B.J. Jones is out. Here's Chris McClure.
Early exit here at the Meadowlands for B.J. Jones. What went wrong?
Well, we were going into one, and right down the front straightaway there, going into one, it just broke a rocker arm in the right rear suspension, and it just went, it like teeter-tottered on three wheels, and I just broke him, knocked him up, and had to take the return road, keep from hitting the wall, but just suspension.
Have to hold your breath a bit?
Oh, yeah, you know, it was pretty scary going down there, and I thought I had a flat tire, but it ended up being the suspension, rocker arm.
Sorry to see you out. B.J. Jones, he's retired far too early.
Well, the fans love his aggressive driving style, but P.J., who finished second last week at Cleveland, is a spectator here at the Meadowlands.
Here's the battle right here. Robbie Groff still trying to hold off Robbie Buell. Groff goes down to the left. Buell goes down the outside. Very, very ambitious move right here.
Not a place to pass, but is he going to make it stick? No, he doesn't. He gets in trouble as he gets that outside barrier.
Oh, got out into the gray when he tried to go around the outside of Groff. Not much grip out there. We saw him get sideways, put the power on, and whacked that outside right rear suspension.
We know how much damage can be done with a tap like this. He has to be very careful the next couple of laps to make sure nothing was broken back there.
Well, hopefully he rubbed it more so than actually bounced off it, because he'll be very aware the next time he comes down there, hoping nothing doesn't let go.
The Sherwin-Williams Buick Wildcat of Paul Tracy. He is going for his 6th victory this season as the laps wind down here at the Meadowlands Sports Complex. That is Marty Roth. He is a lap car between Ted Trappist and Paul Tracy. It's a long way back to third as we wait for Mike Snow in the Bradley Food Mart's number 26 to move that car through that right-hander. There he comes, a long way back to third position.
Mike's had 2 third-place finishes already this year. Hasn't managed to get into the top of the winner's circle. There's his third-place finishes. Detroit and fourth, but Mike Snow still having a good day here.
And a very consistent ride also for Kathy Mueller. And now we take a look at Marty Roth as he gets into trouble.
He almost got, oh, he does it again. He almost got collected by Mark Smith earlier on. Now we see him do a double spin, one under braking and then the other under power.
And here is the battle for fourth position as Robbie Buell takes a look to the inside and takes that position from Kathy Mueller. And there's Robbie Groff. He is parked along the outside.
No sooner had Robbie Buell and Robbie Groff settle their dispute in favor of Robbie Buell than Groff drops out. And now he is definitely the man on the move, having just passed Kathy Mueller for fourth.
There is the white flag, the final lap approaching now for Paul Tracy. Let's see if Robbie Buell can close down on Mike Snow and have a battle perhaps for third spot.
There's Mark Smith being lapped again. There's Robbie Buell right behind Snow. So here's the battle right here. Tracy is clear. Trappist is clear, but this is the battle right here.
Well, Paul Tracy could almost coast to victory here at the Meadowlands. Ted Trappist all alone in second position, with the battle shaping up on the final lap for third spot. There's a look at Paul Tracy as he negotiates the last half of this 6-turn, 1.2-mile road course here at the Meadowlands, and he will pick up his 6th victory in 7 starts this season. That will be a new one-season record for ARS competition. There is a double checkered flag for the young Canadian Paul Tracy. He takes the victory. We're looking for second position. That would go to the PIG State Under Drugs entry of Ted Trappist. But here is your battle for third spot. Can Buell get him?
Snow came down the inside, blocked his maneuver. Buell went back to the outside, but there really was no room. He's already hit the wall down the outside one time. He didn't. Look at the slide. He's given it everything he can trying to get that third place.
And it looks like Mike Snow will hold on for third spot. There it is. Robbie Buell takes fourth. So our congratulations again to Paul Tracy. He is victorious here in New Jersey.
Dutch Boy Satin Finish Paint.
For the look that gets the looks year after year, you can see why it's worth more.
If this looks like a nice place to live, you're right. Ants, roaches, spiders, and fleas would all love to live here. But they can't, because we protect our home with Ortho Home Pest Insect Control. It brings trusted Ortho quality to a special formula for the home that gets rid of insects while respecting the living things that belong here. So only family and friends are allowed in this house.
You're better off with Ortho Home Pest Insect Control.
There is a better battery. The Napa legend, the better battery.
Daihatsu owners talk about Daihatsu from Japan.
When you can recommend a car to your best friend, you are driving the right car.
We're talking about style
and performance.
Japanese quality I can afford.
You get the same quality in Rocky, the wide-track 4x4 by Daihatsu.
That zippy four-cylinder fuel-injected engine really gets it around.
And Rocky has the widest wheel track in its class. Today, there's a Daihatsu that's just right for you. Daihatsu, one of the most respected names in Japan for over 80 years.
Victory lane at the Meadowlands, and let's go down to Chris McClure.
Once again, it's Paul Tracy. And again, you dominate from the pole. And again, you make it look easy, and I know it's not.
Well, Ted put a lot of pressure on before we had the restart, the yellow flag. Ted was on me there for about the first 20 laps and pulled out a little bit of a gap, got the yellow. The accident happened right in front of me, so I knew there was going to be yellow coming out, and I got a good restart, and I just put a bunch of consecutive fast laps together, and I pulled out a gap on Ted, and I think Ted might have got, once I pulled out a gap, he might have slowed up a bit to protect his position because he had a good lead as well. So it may have looked easy, but it was a hard job.
We'll talk to Ted Prappus momentarily, but Prappus finishes second to Tracy. Rounding out the top five, Mike Snow, Robbie Buell, and Kathy Mueller. In the second five, we have Tom Kristoff, Marty Roth, Mark Rodriguez, Robbie Groff, and Mark Smith.
Had a couple of chances to make a run at him. Yeah, we stayed close a little bit at the beginning. We're just still not quite right, I don't think, on the setup to make it last the whole way. It picked up a bit of push at the end, and we really just tried to stay as close as we could, and that's really what we did. And then just kind of waited and waited, hoping maybe something would go wrong with him and stuff. But not really much. Tried basically as hard as I could the whole time. The ARS campaign, as you mentioned, gentlemen, is half done. Paul Tracy's won 6 of the 7. Early this year, he ripped off the first 3 and then was derailed at Detroit, falling back to 10th position after that last lap crash, and then 3 straight now. Nobody in ARS has ever won 4 in a row, and Paul Tracy, once again, in a street car situation, will be looking for his 4th victory to set that record. He's going to do it in Toronto, in front of the hometown fans, which will indeed provide a little more drama in the Paul Tracy saga of 1990.
Let's take a look at the points total. Tracy leads from Ted Prappus, Mark Smith, Tommy Byrne, and 5th is Mike Snow. Round 8 will be in Toronto, Canada. Paul Tracy takes the victory wave, winner of round 7.
Such a phenomenal season that young man is having as he will try to go for his 8th victory. And looky there, we have the lights back here in Salem, and we have the heat race lined up now for our 4th heat race. We're coming back with more live action from Salem, Indiana on Saturday Night Thunder. Stay with us.
Now available for the first time, the complete recordings of Olga Montero and her magic harp. This 4-volume set includes such classics as Eine kleine Nachtmusik, Amor ti Vieto, and Cuesta o Quella. She has been hailed as one of the world's greatest.
Still going. Nothing outlasts the Energizer. They keep going and going and going and going.
Nothing beats the winning team, pushing hard, reaching for the dream.
Beat Kenny Bernstein in his Budweiser King top-fuel dragster in 280-mile-an-hour competition at these NHRA Winston drag racing events.
Nothing beats the Budweiser. Nothing beats the
to set that record. He's going to do it in Toronto in front of the hometown fans, which will indeed provide a little more drama in the Paul Tracy saga of 1990.
Let's take a look at the point total. Tracy leads from Ted Praffus, Mark Smith, Tommy Byrne, and fifth is Mike Snow. Round 8 will be in Toronto, Canada. Paul Tracy takes the victory wave. Winner of round 7.
Such a phenomenal season that young man is having as he will try to go for his 8th victory. And looky there, we have the lights back here in Salem, and we have the heat race lined up now for our 4th heat race. We're coming back with more live action from Salem, Indiana on Saturday Night Thunder. Stay with us.
Now available for the first time, the complete recordings of Olga Montero and her magic harp. This full-volume set includes such classics as Eine kleine Nachtmusik, Amor ti Vieto, and Questa Oquela. She has been hailed as one of the world's greatest.
Still going. Nothing outlasts the Energizer. They keep going and going and going and going.
Nothing beats a winning team, pushing hard, reaching for the dream.
See Kenny Bernstein in his Budweiser King top-fueled dragster in 280-mile-an-hour competition at these NHRA Winston drag racing events.
Nothing beats a Budweiser. Nothing beats a Bud. Nothing beats a Bud.
Life's full of simple pleasures, like the comfort of Levi's jeans. Or had you forgotten?
The Denver Broncos try to achieve that one super season. The Seattle Seahawks, this year they mean business. The Broncos battle the Seahawks in the American Bowl, Saturday night, August 4th, live on ESPN. Last weekend, Bo Jackson and the Royals beat up Boston in Fenway. Now the Red Sox try to return the favor and keep near the top of the AL East. Sunday night at 8 Eastern, live on ESPN.
And as we take a look at young Jeff Gordon, we have just concluded the 4th heat race. He takes the win from the back of the pack. And we had a chance to talk to Jeff earlier, but, you know, we had a problem earlier, Larry, with the lights going out. That delayed the program somewhat. That's a scary situation when you're on the racetrack and all the lights go out.
Well, I'll tell you what, that happened at Eldora a few years ago, and we were all going into turn 1, and the lights just went out. I mean, it was really, really scary. It was like going into a tunnel and not being able to see a thing. You just had to hope that everybody else went straight, and you went straight and hoped you didn't hit anything.
You also have to feel for Don Gettelfinger, the owner, because he has ESPN live on the air going across the country. He has great race drivers out here, a good crowd on hand, and the lights go out.
He's done a great job putting in new lights for us. Here we have the results of the first race, Gary.
Well, Jeff Gordon came from the back of the pack, had a great battle in the mid-race section with Mark Alderson, made the pass, led the last 3 laps. Chip Thomas finished 3rd, and Denny Martini took 4th position. Once again, the inverted starts on the heat races, and the first 4 finishers then transfer onto the main event, and those that finish 5th, the balance of the field will then go to the semi, and once again have a shot to transfer from the semi.
That's right. Garrett, Mark Alderson did do a very good job in that race. Gary Gordon finally did get around him, but he ran real strong. He looked real good in that race.
Well, Gordon, of course, knows his way around this racetrack because the last time USAC was here, he had a double header. He won both the midget and the sprint car feature, so obviously he goes well. You know, he may have a future, though, in stock car racing because he just came back from taking the Buck Baker driving school at Rockingham. Instead, he had a great time, had high praise for the school.
After that win, Jeff went to Rockingham, North Carolina for the next step in his young career. The Buck Baker Driving School has graduated such names as Bobby Hillen Jr., Eddie Bierschwale, and Rob Barroso. And Jeff is hoping their success might follow him. He participated in the full 3-day course to become familiar with the Winston Cup cars.
I've kind of looked into some ARS and maybe some Indy cars, and I'm kind of looking at the stock cars right now, and I definitely like the stock cars.
It seems that Jeff has already impressed his teachers.
If I was his age and know what I know now, I'd have to have somebody to help me carry my money.
Winston Cup racing is where the stock car money is, and Jeff feels he needs only one more element to be prepared.
I think if I get a lot of laps in a stock car and I start young and, you know, and build myself up in a really good car, I think down the road, you know, I could really be competitive in a Winston Cup car.
Well, and he had high praise, of course, for the Buckbakers. Goes, he had a great time. He felt great in the cars. The hospitality was real good, and he looks forward to perhaps going stock car racing.
Yeah, it seems like more and more guys are looking towards the NASCAR circuit. And I think one of the main reasons they are is because there are so many more competitive race cars down there. It's very tough to break into kart racing or Formula One racing because there's a very, very few cars that have a chance of winning. But in NASCAR, there's 15, 20, 25 cars that have a chance every week. And so a lot of guys are looking that direction rather than some of the other directions in racing.
Well, we understand that Dave has caught up with the winner of that last heat race. Here's Jeff.
Here he is, Jeff Gordon, the winner of the last heat race. And Jeff, you've been tearing them up this year. How'd it feel on that heat race?
Oh, it felt pretty good. The car's really working good. We're trying out a new setup tonight. We got a new Gertie engine, and the car's working really good. We heard our power steering and hot laps. We had to borrow a new one, and it's just not what ours was, you know. And
the official hat change here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Gimpy Vacuum Truck Service and Delta Faucets. They're really helping us out a lot.
Talk about the steering a little more. Oversteer, understeer, what's the problem?
Well, it tightens up in the middle of the corner, and I keep having to turn it more and more. And the more I turn, the tighter it gets, and it just keeps wanting. It doesn't want to turn, you know, where I want it to go.
All right, tell me about the stock car school. Helping you out here tonight?
Yeah, Buck Baker has a wonderful school down in North Carolina, and anybody that wants to go stock car racing or just wants to drive a stock car should definitely go to the school. I learned a lot from it, and, you know, I've got a lot of laps in a sprint car, so I hope that it's going to help me out, and hopefully I'll be running Winston Cup or Busch Grand National car someday.
Talking to you earlier this afternoon, you've raced just about everything that has wheels. What do you think you're going to really like this?
Well, you know, I really think I'm going to like the stock cars. The Indy cars are really neat, and I'd really like to get in one, but right now it looks like my opportunities, probably because I've been running ovals more than I have anything else, I think my opportunities towards Winston Cup or Busch Grand National car is looking a lot better for me.
All right, Jeff Gordon has won 3 and maybe 4 coming up tonight. Gary, back to you up top.
Of course, he won the last time he was here, and as we indicated earlier, a double feature took both the sprint car and the midget feature. So talk about a phenomenal season. He is having one, and he has a great future ahead of him. We're going to come back with a semi-feature from Salem, Indiana.
You don't have to worry when rain keeps pouring down, 'cause your home can take it, whatever comes around.
Olympic Oil Stain has pure linseed oil. Since oil and water don't mix, it helps stop water damage.
It's no wonder we'll stop the rain.
Olympic stops the rain.
Protect your home with Olympic products now and save an additional $2 per gallon.
How fast and portable are Wagner's new cordless power painting systems? Just watch. The new cordless power roller automatically pumps paint to cover quickly and easily, with no runs or drips. The new cordless power brush is perfect for trimming any job, big or small. There's no better way to finish a job with flying colors. Anywhere. Cordless power painting from Wagner. Not just a whole lot faster, a whole lot better.
ESPN Saturday Night Thunder is brought to you by Budweiser Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Wagner, power painting that's not just a whole lot faster, but a whole lot better. And by Quaker State, the Big Q is One Tough Motor Oil.
And welcome back to the Salem Speedway. Dave Calabro with you on this Saturday night. And here we are, Eric Gordon. Eric, tell me about your run. You won the heat and you were looking pretty strong.
Well, I knew the car would feel good. Phil Schuler wrenches the Oz car. He's got it dialed in again. We put some soft Goodyears on because we wanted to win the heat race. You get points, and I need all the points I can, you know, to catch Steve Butler. Put a little bit harder tire on, and I think the Goodyears are going to surprise people in the feature.
You were sneaking up on Butler on the point standings. How long do you think it's going to take you to catch him?
Boy, I don't know. Every time I get close to him, I go down and have a weekend like I had in Kentucky where I blow a motor, you know. And just every time we start gaining ground on him, it seems like we lose what we gain. But we're starting to get our program together. I think we can catch him 4 years out.
Hey, Eric Gordon, thank you very much. Number 2 in the point standings. Now back up to Gary Lee.
Only 118 points between Steve Butler and Eric Gordon. Here we have row 1, Donnie Adams and Mike Bowling. In the second row, on the inside, Dave Durnwald. Outside, Greg Wheeler. We move to row 3. These guys are starting straight up now. Jim Mahoney, Charlie Workman, the fastest in the front. In the fourth row, Brent Whited and Barry Reed. In the fifth row, on the inside, Mike Blake. Outside, Bruce Field. Row 6, Mike Peters and Andy Staff. And Andy Staff is a driver that is very, very lucky, Larry. He was at that World of Outlaws race at the Kokomo Speedway last Wednesday. He was in the pit area and caught a rock in the eye that broke his eyeglasses.
That's right. Some of the glass got into his eye. He actually spent the night in the hospital, and I'm surprised to see him here, quite honestly. Andy's, you know, he's not the most cautious race car driver on the racetrack, as you would think. And for him to get hurt standing in the pit area was really kind of ironic, I thought.
Once again, they start straight up, the fastest in front in the semi. We take the first 4, transfer those to comprise our 20-car starting field for the 30-lap Joe James Paddle County Memorial.
Well, the car in second place is really loose. He came off that corner sideways, and it really, really makes it tough when you're trying to run a race car that's that loose on a racetrack that's this fast. He's still running that thing real loose. And I tell you what, it's tough.
That is Bowling in 19, and he is very, very loose. He's being challenged right there by Mahoney in the Valvoline car. Mahoney goes on by, and Mahoney, along with the crew members, are all wearing black armbands this evening because they lost a very valued member of that organization just a week ago.
That's right. Their sponsor, Milcon, Jerry Miller, was killed in an accident last week, an automobile accident. So they've dedicated the remainder of the season to his memory, and that's the reason for the armband.
Right now, that Valvoline team rides in second position, but Donnie Adams continues to have that big gap as they charge into the 33-degree banking here. They have to lean on that banking, as there's a look at Mahoney in second place. Once again, the first 4 transfer, and it's amazing. We have a great battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, but 1st and 2nd's beginning to run away.
Yes, and the car in 3rd place is really holding everybody up. He's so loose, everybody doesn't know where to go to try to get away from him. They keep thinking every time, oh, there he goes again. See, they started to the outside, the thing got loose, and he almost put somebody into the fence up there. It really makes it tough when somebody's running all over the racetrack like that. It looks like his right rear tire must really, really have gone away on him.
One thing that young drivers are told in the early part of their career is be consistent. Down a front straightaway, stay in your lane. Don't be moving back and forth, and we're seeing that right now, perhaps because the race car's not handling.
Boy, I'll tell you what, Brent White had almost got the fence right there when that rear end came out and hit his right front. The tire must be going down. I can't imagine that you'd be smoking a tire that bad if it wasn't going down or wasn't have some kind of a problem with it. He could even have oil coming out of there. He's smoking both rear tires coming off of number 2 that time.
Whited in the red. Look at this. Dirt tracking through the corner. Whited on the high side in that red number 45. He gets by and probably breathes a sigh of relief.
Yeah, see, everybody behind him is just holding their breath trying to get around him. Believe me, they just don't know where to go or what to do to try to get around him. I can't imagine why he'd stay out there with a race car that ill handling. He's taking his own life in his hands.
Well, he's asking for some trouble right there because that car could get away from him and cause him to get hurt, cause somebody else to get hurt and tear up some valuable race cars.
Yeah, see, he's already blistered. You can see that tire bouncing up and down. The tire's already blistered, so there's no sense staying out there and running in that situation.
Well, back to Donnie Adams as he goes by Mike Blake to put Mike a lap down. Donnie Adams, a graduate of midget competition, and he has everything very much his way right now with a big gap over second place Jim Mahoney.
I'll tell you, Gary, he has looked real good. He looked real good in his heat race until he got into a problem. He qualified real good. He's looked real good the last couple times out in this pavement car, and I think he's going to surprise some people before the end of the year.
What advantage does he have this evening running the semi, or is there something to learn from running a semi on pavement as opposed to learning what the dirt track is like?
Well, there's a little bit to learn. He qualified fast, so he already had the setup, but he knows now if the racetrack, when the sun went down, if it makes a difference. Here comes the checkered flag. Okay.
Right. So he takes the victory, but once again, some drivers will tell you if there is an advantage to going to the semi, you may learn something about the track. Now, here is the battle for the semi. This is the 4th and final transfer position, and Brent Whited hangs on and takes the advantage over Wheeler in car number 16.
Yes, that was Brent White had a lot of trouble getting around early in the race, getting around that white car that was having all the problems. And once he got around him, he ran pretty good. But he had trouble. So did everybody else. When you have a race car running sideways and smoking the tires, it makes it tough.
We talked earlier about the point standing. Steve Butler has won 3 USAC sprint car titles, won 3 in a row, as a matter of fact, and his 3rd championship also came on the heels of a dirt car championship. Eric Gordon rides in 2nd. The youngster from Greenfield, Indiana. Rich Vogler, a 2-time USAC sprint car champion, is now 3rd. Greg Staub having a good season. He is 4th. And Rick Howerton, we've talked about Rick, a brand new race car this evening, the new Beast. But look at this. He is 5th in the standings. George McCord now is 6th. Then it's Greg Wheeler, Bob Ciccone, Wayne Hammond, and Gary Fedewa. And Bob Ciccone should be debuting a new car in just a couple of weeks. So that will conclude the preliminaries, and we'll have the lineup momentarily for our feature event. A good crowd on hand, and we were real concerned about the weather here this evening. We weren't that concerned about the lights, and the lights gave us the problem. Donnie Adams takes the victory. The top 4 from the semi advancing on to the feature. Jim Mahoney, Dave Durnwald, and Brent Whited. So we'll have 20 cars in the feature, 30 laps. The fastest 6 qualifiers now will be inverted for the feature event. And we'll have Donnie momentarily after we take a break at the 31st running of the Joe James Pat O'Connor Memorial Sprint Car Classic. Saturday Night Thunder is live from Salem, Indiana. We're coming back. Stay with us.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes.
Come see the sunset in our backyard at Dockside. Come by Land or Sea for casual waterfront dining. Dockside has burgers, steaks, seafood, delectable fettuccine, grouper in a bag, and a broiled combo. Enjoy the serenity of the bay at Dockside.
Sitting on the dock of the bay.
Just 15 minutes from Brandon in beautiful Apollo Beach.
Broncos try to achieve that one super season. The Seattle Seahawks, this year they mean business. The Broncos battle the Seahawks in the American Bowl, Saturday night, August 4th, live on ESPN.
Now we are back live at the Salem Speedway in Salem, Indiana for the 31st running of the Joe James Pat O'Connor Memorial Classic, featuring the USAC sprint cars, and Larry Rice sitting alongside. And you won this event back in 1982 when it was on the dirt at the Action Track in Terre Haute.
That's right. It was run on the dirt twice, at Terre Haute one time and I think Brownstown the other time. And I was fortunate enough to win one of those, and I was excited about it. I think this is a very prestigious race. I can remember as a child coming down here and watching this race. So, you know, I was real excited to win it.
Well, Joe James, of course, was the 1952 Midwest champion, and then he lived here in Salem. Pat O'Connor lived in nearby North Vernon. He was a 3-time Midwest Sprint champion back in 53, 54, and 56, and so named after a couple of very popular and very successful sprint car drivers. And let's take you now to Victory Lane, Dave. Well, obviously, some problems in Victory Lane. We were hoping to talk to Donnie about the nice ride that he had in the semi. But, again, in a live situation, you never know what's going to happen. And we've had everything but bad weather. So I tell you what, we had some successful qualifying around the country today for some racing that we'll have here on ESPN. Danny Sullivan will have the pole position for tomorrow's Toronto IndyCar. Michael Andretti, who is certainly on a roll, will start outside the front row. His dad Mario and Bobby Rahal will share row 2. Then it's Teo Fabi in the Porsche. He qualified 5th quick this afternoon. Rick Mears in a Chevy-powered entry, along with Emerson Fittipaldi, another Chevy Penske teammate, then Al Unser Jr. Ari Lyondike and John Andretti, another Porsche-powered entry, rounding out the top 10. Well, the NASCAR Winston Cup cars will be in action tomorrow at Pocono in the AC Sparkplug 500. Mark Martin, who's done some racing on this track, as a matter of fact, has the pole position. Kenny Schrader is outside the pole. Greg Sachs and Jeff Bodine will have the second row. Harry Gant will be in the 5th starting position. In the second 5, we have Bill Elliott, Rob Moroso, Rusty Wallace, Alan Kawicki, and Ernie Irvan. And one driver who is making his Winston Cup debut is Rich Vogler, who will start 32nd tomorrow, but he is racing this evening here with us at Salem. And Ted Prampus, a surprise with the pole position in the ARS qualifying in Toronto. Paul Tracy will start in the front row. Then it's P.J. Jones, Benicio Salmi, and Robbie Buell. So they successfully got those guys qualified today for all of these races that will be seen on ESPN. And there is a look at the Hoffman entry number 1. That depicts the defending national champion as far as the USAC sprint division, and that is Rapid Rich Vogler. So he has a lot of flying back and forth this weekend. He's his pilot. He has his own twin prop, but I don't know if he flew himself or flew commercially, but he's here with us in Salem, and he loves the high banks. You talk about drivers that go well in the high banks. Vogler certainly can. Well, let's try it one more time. Let's go back to Victory Lane. Here's Dave Calabro.
Ah, the glory of live TV. Here we are. Donnie Adams, you won, and we finally got you on the last chance race. What a race you had.
Well, we've had a pretty good night. We were 3rd quick tonight. Had a problem in the heat race, got around backwards as part of racing. But the car felt real good, and I tell you what, it's just been one of those nights. We're starting outside 2nd row, put our foot in it and go.
And you're got to be happy with that.
Yeah, we're real tickled. We're real tickled to death. Got a new sponsor last night, Payless Supermarkets. Like to tell them thank you back home, and all the people back home is helping sponsor. And I tell you, I really like the ghetto figure people here. The Salem Speedway is an excellent facility. USAC's good people, and it's just a lot of fun.
Tell me about the condition of the track as we get ready for the main event.
Well, the track was really slippery earlier. We had a stock car race earlier. There was a lot of grease down, and it's running fine now. You know, we're just getting the car and see what happens.
All right, Donnie Adams has the hardware for winning the last chance. We'll send it up to Gary Lee.
Well, there's $4,000 up for grabs in tonight's feature winner. There's a good look at Rick Howard in the brand new Beast, the number 22 car. He had a good ride in the heat race. In addition, though, to the prize money available, $4,000 to win, $2,000 per second. There's a lot of prestige that goes with this race. I mean, this race has been won by the likes of Eddie Sachs and A.J. Foyt, Parnelli Jones, Roger McCluskey, Bobby Unser, Sonny Yates, who was superb on the high banks, Raleigh Beal. You won this thing. You know what it's like to join that elite group.
Yes, it's a great race. It's steeped with tradition. Pancho Carter was probably the best guys that I ran with. He was probably as good as anybody that ever ran the banks that I ran with. His father was really good. His father and Troy Ruttman practically owned the banks back in the 50s. And all these kind of guys have gone on to become great race car drivers. And I think a lot of that is one of the reasons that people love to come down here and run this racetrack and win this race.
Well, there's a look at young Jeff Gordon, and I know some people are complaining that we say young all the time, but he's only 18 years old. He'll be 19 in August. I think it's like August the 4th. But he has such talent and such poise and maturity for his young age. It's hard to really believe the kid is still a teenager.
Well, we talked about this one other time, the fact that he's an 18-year-old race car driver, but he really has much more experience than many of the guys that are older than him. Rick Howerton is doing a great job this year, but this is really his first introduction into fast race car driving. He's 20 years old, and he's just now getting going, and you know, it's tougher for him.
Well, here's our CarQuest cage cam. We're going to ride along with Bob Ciccone, and that could be a real interesting ride this evening. The lad from Prospect Park, Pennsylvania. And I tell you what, his dad had a birthday, and they served me a slice of cherry whipped cream cake. And oh, was it rich. So happy birthday to his dad, Lou. Let's take a look now. The turns, we go into the corner. We talked earlier about making the diamond off 3 and 4. You don't drive the turns alike, do you, Larry?
No, this racetrack is, you run 1 and 2 right here where we're at. You run it much lower than you do down in 3 and 4. There seems to be almost 2 grooves down here between 3 and 4. You can run up where he's at, or you can run the lower groove down there below those white lines. And you can still run almost as fast in either place. Whereas you go down this back straightaway and you go into 3, there's definitely only one groove going into 3. You go in right here and you go right straight up to the fence to the right of where he's at, and then you can either follow that fence around or you can try to dime it off and come under somebody. But getting into 3 is the narrowest place on this racetrack as far as a groove goes. There isn't but one groove there.
You see the concrete wall along the outside of the front straightaway. Then we go to the guardrail. Now, this is unlike Winchester where they have the wall. Is there really a preference for a driver? Would you rather hit this thing and perhaps be knocked back on the racetrack, or have this thing cushion your blow? Is there an advantage to hitting a guardrail over a concrete?
Well, there's an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage to a guardrail is that it won't tear the race car up quite as bad, but it absorbs some of the shock. The disadvantage is that sometimes if you hit it hard enough, you can go clear through it. We've seen stock cars go clear through one of these fences, knock the poles over. Then you've got to come in and reset the poles. It delays the race a lot of times. So there's advantages and disadvantages. I think most guys think the concrete, though, is better to keep you in the racetrack, gives you a better chance.
Back in the cockpit with the CarQuest cage cam, Bob Ciccone. We mentioned that Bob pilots his own plane. I think we mentioned that in weeks past. He has a twin engine. Very conscientious. These race drivers that may look really wild on the racetrack, Bob Ciccone is very conscientious. So is Rich Vogler when he is flying. And there is a look at the V6 of Bob Fry. Here is a man that has a weight advantage because he has the smaller power plant. I think it's 309 cubic inches, just under the 310 limit. We also talked about Rich Vogler having a 310. So these guys have a weight advantage this evening.
Yes, they're 200 pounds lighter, so it gives them a big advantage through the corners. With less cubic inches, they do have a little bit of a horsepower disadvantage, but their theory is that by running a little bit softer tires with the lighter weight, it'll give them an overall advantage in the sprint cars.
Well, once again, we talked about the fastest 6 being inverted. Jeff Bloom and Bob Fry will be in the front row. In the second row, Jeff Gordon and Donnie Adams. In row 3, on the inside, Don Schilling. Outside, your quick qualifier, the new track record, Rich Vogler. In the fourth row, Eric Gordon and Chip Thomas. In row 5, on the inside, Greg Staub. Outside, Gene Lee Gibson. In the 6th row, Wayne Hammond, who won this event 1 year ago. And outside, Mark Alderson. Row 7, inside, Steve Butler, a 3-time USAC sprint car champion. And outside, the youngster, Rick Howerton. In the 8th row, inside, with the camera, Bob Ciccone. And outside, Dave Durnwald. In the 9th row, inside, Jim Mahoney. Outside, Denny Martini. And in the 10th row, Brent Whited and Red Stauffer. 30 laps. The yellows, of course, will not count toward the overall 30 lap, but there is the furled flag being held up by starter Wally Shear. One more lap, and we'll turn these guys loose. As a driver, you're strapped in the cockpit. What's going through your head right now? 1 lap to go.
You're just trying to make sure that you have everything right. You want to know, you're looking at the guy beside you, you're trying to figure out what he's going to do on the start. You want to try to anticipate everything that's going to happen going into that first corner. If you think the guy in front of you is going to run a little bit higher line, then you want to try to think of a way to get underneath him. The race is not won on the first corner, but I tell you what, you can gain a lot of advantage if you can get around a couple of guys down there.
And you can be at a real disadvantage if you lose a few positions on that start or on a restart. All right, we'll watch for Jeff Bloom to pick up the throttle now, the 6th fastest qualifier. And look at this jump to the inside. No start that time. Look what Gordon was trying to do.
Yeah, Jeff Bloom just did not get I don't know whether he had a problem or he just didn't pick the throttle up, but he was way, way out of line. I can't blame Jeff Gordon. Jeff wasn't going very fast, so he wasn't going to wait on him. He was going to go anyway. So, if Jeff's got a problem with the engine, they're going to have to wait on him maybe a little bit. Or perhaps he just knew that he wasn't going to beat Bob Fry into the first corner, so he just stayed out of the throttle, hoping they wouldn't drop the green.
Well, we'll take a look again. It's the responsibility of the pole man to bring them around. He does it. Bob Fry has a length advantage right there. As they come off the corner, Jeff Gordon jumps to the inside, and there's no start.
Now, I think that Jeff Bloom just knew that he didn't have an advantage. He elected to stay off the throttle and cross his fingers and hope that they didn't drop the green flag. If they had him, he'd have really been a big trouble.
All right, let's see what he has in mind for the start this time now. A couple of real pavement veterans. Bloom out of the state of Ohio and Fry out of Arizona.
Yeah, so he can
faster this time.
He can pick the throttle up. He just took a chance.
But look at Gordon. Look at Gordon.
Boy, he took a big chance. He jumped right down underneath both of them and was gone, going right into the first corner.
Well, Fry has second position, Bloom right there in third, but Gordon, who owns the track record for 30 laps, who won here the last outing in both the midgets and the sprints, is out in front. We have seen him win at Winchester. We have seen him win at Raceway Park. He's won here, and now he's out in front again.
That reminds me of Dale Earnhardt a couple of weeks ago down at the Daytona when he had such a jump on everybody on all the starts and all the restarts. That's what it looked like the advantage was for Jeff Gordon right there. He had a lower gear than everybody else, just stood on the gas, went right around them before they ever got their momentum up.
Well, Vogler is up to third as we go back in the pack now, and here's a good look down the back straightaway. We ride along with Bob Ciccone.
Yes, that gives you a good idea of how twitchy those race cars are at this speed. They're going very, very fast. And when you make a little bit of an error, a little bit of a jerk with the wheel, those race cars want to move around a lot.
Well, here's the battle for second position. Bob Fry up high, Vogler down low, and Vogler keeps the momentum and takes that position away from Fry, and now he sets sail for Jeff Gordon. Now, remember the last time we saw these two guys together on the racetrack, it was at Winchester, and they got together coming off the corner.
Yes, they sure did. And I got to tell you, that was a great pass by Rich Vogler. That's a really, really tough place to go around a guy on the inside, and he did a good job keeping that race car out of the fence and out of Bob Fry.
Well, we're back with Bob Ciccone now. Down the front straightaway, still a lot of traffic, and you can see the car twitch. He's running in 13th position off that second corner down the backstretch. Now, let's see what groove he runs going in. Well, now we're right back to the battle in front because we have nose to tail coming through the corner. Once again, Gordon is your leader. Vogler is second.
Okay, it looks like Richie's running a little faster right now. He's got to, Gordon got real loose. Richie did a real good job not running into him right there. But Rich is going to size him up. He's going to follow him for a couple laps, and then he's going to figure out a place that he thinks he can get around him. Rich is running real fast tonight. I'm a little surprised he's running that much faster than Jeff Gordon is at this point.
They go by Martini in the number 7 car, that bright yellow sprinter off the corner down the front straightaway. And because of that lapping process, there was some ground gain by Gordon. Now let's see if Vogler can move up. Is it possible that Gordon was going at 9/10 and not 10/10 until he realized he had pressure?
Well, there's not really that kind of strategy in a sprint car race like this. You've got to go 10/10 all the time. And if you don't, somebody's going to come right up on you and go right around you. There he goes.
There he goes.
Oh. When he went around that car lower, the front end push coming off of number 2. Rich had his car running straight off the corner, diamond off, and went right under him. He really made a good pass.
And he pulls away to a nice advantage right now as he works through that 33-degree banking off the second corner down the back straightaway. Now, this is a 30-lap event, so Rich will have some traffic to work with, and that could be an advantage to Gordon if he can catch up and work the traffic.
That's right. It's going to be tough now that Rich is out front, though. He's the kind of a guy that really, once he's in the lead, he really protects his position. He protects his race car and things like that. It's going to be tough to get around him. These guys back here are the ones that are working, though. The guys out front have it easy. Things are running pretty good for them. But here's Eric Gordon. He's having a tough time. He's trying to get around Jeff Bloom, and Jeff's not giving him any room.
That's Eric in the white number 2 car, Bloom in the blue and white car, number 67. And they work together off the corner and down the back straightaway.
Okay, here we see Don Schilling. He's having trouble.
Well, traffic once again not a problem, but it could be as the race progresses now. 13 laps in the record book, working on lap 14. Rich continues to lead it, a 5-time USAC midget champion, a 2-time sprint car champion, and Rich was the only driver ever to win a midget and sprint car feature in the same year, and he goes by a 3-time sprint car champion, Steve Butler.
Yeah, you know he's got to be running fast. Steve Butler won that race at Winchester, the last one they had on ESPN. So you know that Rich has got to really be flying in order to be lapping him with only 14 laps into the race.
He pulls up behind our camera car and goes by Bob Ciccone. He pulls to the inside of Wayne Hammond, and here is a look from Bob Ciccone's cage cam. And there is right in front of him, there is your leader.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised he can run that low down in 3 and 4. That's an awfully tough place to run low. 1 and 2, you can do it fairly easily if your race car is really working good. But down at 3 and 4, it's really tough to run that low. Here, Eric Gordon is trying to get around Jeff Bloom down here in 3 and 4 on the bottom, and he just can't quite do it. He's running low at 1 and 2, but every time he gets that low, the back end gets out a little bit, and he just cannot quite get around him.
Well, I'm wondering with the groove that Vogler is using, the speed that he is running, is he abusing his tire?
Well, he might be, but I don't think so. He's smart enough. He's been around these banks long enough that he's not going to do that. He's going to take care of that tire. He's going to get around people as quick as he can without abusing that tire.
Well, look at that move on the high side by car number 25. That's Mark Alderson. A car 2 or 3 cars in the wall coming off turn 2. A major altercation. One is the camera car. We can see that car is Bob Ciccone. A number of cars involved, and the only car that we can really identify quickly was Ciccone.
Completely blocked.
We have a fire. We have a fire over there. The track is blocked. There's a shot from Ciccone. He apparently is okay. There's the number 2 car. We can see the nose of Butler. Butler climbs out. You can see the flame there. One of the cars is on fire. The race obviously has been stopped. There's the 88. Wayne Hammond climbs out. He is okay. So one by one, we're identifying the drivers. And the drivers that we have seen are climbing out. They are okay. But once again, we talked many times earlier, things happen so rapidly on this racetrack. One minor altercation collected a number of race cars.
That's right. Once those 3 or 4 cars got on the inside, the guys that were a long ways back did not have time to miss them. Things happened so quickly, they tried to get around them. One car slid up to the outside fence. A couple more guys come around, and even though the yellow was out, there was a very, very narrow groove, and you're still running fast. When you think you're running slow, wow, look at that. That's what we talked about. There's the chance of getting outside the racetrack when you break the fence like that. And that really is tough.
We saw Bob Ciccone with a fire bottle. Obviously, these drivers, once they realize they are okay, they want to make sure they can salvage whatever they can from the race car. When they see the fire, he went after a fire bottle, and he was entered. There's Bob Fry's car. We don't know that Bob was involved in that because, again, all the cars stopped coming off the second corner when the red came out. So there are a number of cars parked over there that are not involved in the altercation. Brent White is number 45.
I think everybody's parked over there, just with the exception of maybe 1 car, Gary, or 2 that are parked down here on the front straightaway. Everybody else just had to stop. The racetrack was completely blocked. I saw Eric Gordon go through there, and it looked like there was a hole, but he ran over a guy's wheel and got sideways, and then it really was blocked, and nobody else.
We talked to Don Schilling when he made that transition from midget to sprint. He said, in a sprint car, you have to really plan ahead because they won't dart like a midget wheel. You can't just move to the inside, turn the wheel, and have the car go. A longer wheelbase, a heavier race car, they don't respond quite as quickly, and that's what you're saying. Drive ahead, but on this racetrack, they're so fast, they collect the cars in a hurry.
That's right. Everything happens so quickly, and these things do have the highest horsepower to weight ratio of almost any race car you can imagine. So when you do try to dart, try to do things, and have all that horsepower to affect the steering wheel and affect the rear wheels, it really makes a big difference, and it causes big problems, as we see here.
We are getting no reports right now of injuries. We're holding off, in fact, trying to identify everybody that was involved over there when this many cars are now parked outside turn 2. There's Donnie Adams. Obviously, he is okay because he's parked along the front straightaway. But again, there were so many cars over there. There was contact, hard contact with the outside wall. It's going to take some time for the maintenance crew to rebuild that wall. We don't know how many cars were actually involved or how many cars sustained damage. As we saw earlier in one of the heat races, Donnie Adams got in contact with Wayne Hammond. Bo spun. Both cars were able to continue.
Yes, they could well, most of them, continue, but...
Well, here's the very tail end of it, and part of the track is already blocked. We understand that officially now all the drivers are okay. Now you can see the entire field coming off the second corner. They're all on the binders, and they stop right there. See, the fire erupts on the inside.
Oh, yeah.
And Ciccone, now Ciccone was right there as he's trying to climb out. There's Rick. Well, now here's the in car. This is the very end of it, and we see the nose of Steve Butler's car. Rick Howerton is also involved down there in the blue number 22. There's Butler in the yellow number 2, and there's the black number 2 of Ciccone. Ciccone holds up his hand and says, "What happened? What was that all about?"
Yeah, he doesn't know really what happened, evidently. He's asking him what happened, how comes he ran into him. But there were a couple more cars on the outside. There's Rick Howerton's car, brand new race car, and it was involved, like you said. It was one of those initial 4 cars in the crash, and then Greg Staub had gotten into it. He spun, just trying to get stopped, I think, more than anything else. He spun and hit the outside fence. And then the other guys, as we saw that shot a while ago, they all started stacking up. They all started getting on the brakes, and there just wasn't enough room to get 10 cars through that little hole.
Well, here we'll take a look once again. We have 3 cars on the inside. There goes Staub backwards down the racetrack. He makes very light contact with the outside wall. The 3 cars on the inside, actually 4 cars, would be Ciccone, Howerton, Butler, and there Wayne Hammond just got tapped. And there goes number 2. That would be
it was Alderson.
Gordon.
One of them.
Alderson was involved in that thing. So a number of drivers. But again, we hasten to say there were no injuries. It's going to take a while to get this track opened and the race restarted. We're coming back. Stay with us.
I send you for a Bud Light, and you bring back...
Well, Bud Light won't fill you up, never lets you down.
So, there are no men here, there's an unlimited supply of Bud Light, and we can never leave.
Correct.
Everything else is just a light.
We can live with that.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry when rain keeps pouring down, 'cause your home can take it, whatever comes around.
Linseed oil penetrates wood. Sealants protect the surface. Olympic weather screen.
It's no wonder we'll stop the rain.
Olympic stops the rain.
Protect your home with Olympic products now and save an additional $2 per gallon.
And welcome back to Salem Speedway, where we had a major accident during the feature race. Rick Howerton joins us now. He was just in the accident. Rick, tell us what happened if you can.
I was coming off at 2, and I guess me and Wayne Hammond got together. I really don't know what happened. Just someone either ran into the side of me or I came down a little. We just got together, went in the wall.
We saw a great deal of flame shooting up over there. Can you tell us something about that?
I think it was mine and Steve Butler's car. Cut the fuel lines, and it didn't do that much damage to the car as far as fire or anything, but we're out.
Everybody got out. And this was a brand new car you were running. You were talking about all the hours that you and your father had put into putting this thing together the past couple of days. Real disheartening for you to be out.
Yeah, the new Bob East car that we got seemed to work pretty well. We didn't get that good a start in the feature, but I guess we'll just have to wait till next time.
All right, Rick Howerton out of the race. Gary, we'll send it back to you, and it sounds like this is going to take a while to find out exactly what happened.
Well, we may never know what happened, but realistically, Larry, we have had so many fires this racing season, and the guys wear double and triple layer driving suits and Nomex underwear, but there still is a great fear when you strap yourself into a race car. There is Steve Butler. He saw what was happening. He was very quick to extricate himself. But obviously, these drivers are very concerned about the potential of fire, despite all the safety precautions.
Well, it's pretty amazing. You know, I've raced for a long, long time, 20-some-odd years, and I've only seen 1 or 2 fires in my complete career in sprint cars and midget racing. But in the last year and a half or 2 years, I've seen 4 or 5 fires. This one wasn't a very bad one, but the couple that Gary Bentonhausen was injured in, he was injured twice in fires. This one, I've seen others at different racetracks. It really makes you wonder what the heck is going on here, because I think the reason this fire did not turn out to be a major fire, though, was some of the safety precautions that we do have. The shut-off valves, the automatic valves that doesn't let the fuel come out of the lines and so forth. So I think it was good that we had those, but it's really of concern to most of us that there are that many fires happening nowadays.
You talk about your friend Gary Bettenhausen. Gary went home from the hospital a couple of weeks ago. He's now convalescing in Monrovia, Indiana, on his Christmas tree farm, but I happen to know there's a great big lake out behind. I tried to call Gary all day yesterday, and nobody answered. I tried to call him this morning. He may be out fishing.
Well, I don't know. I hope he is, but I talked to him the other day, and I told him to hurry up and get well, because I wanted to go to Canada and go fishing up at his place up there, but he said he was going to have to wait. Either we're going to have to wait, or I was going to have to do his reeling in for him, and I don't want to do that, so.
One of the drivers involved in that altercation over there in turn 2, Steve Butler, a 3-time sprint car champion, is standing by now with Dave.
Quickly, what happened out there?
Well, Wayne Hammond and Howerton got together and rode over wheels and started to spin, and I don't know, Bob Ciccone got in there and we got in there, and we didn't hardly hurt our car. We just bumped them guys, but there was crossways and caused us to stall, and then Howerton's fuel tank ruptured and started to pour fuel under us. And I was just going to wait on somebody to get me disengaged, but then the fire lit. It started to get big pretty fast, and I hopped out and tried to get my car out of gear and rolled it out of there because I knew it wasn't hurting. I wanted to get back in the race, but it was jammed in those other cars and wouldn't roll, so the fire was getting bigger and bigger, and I had to leave. But I'm glad the fire guys got there and got the thing put out, and I think we're going to be okay for the restart.
I saw you guys working frantically on the car. You're going to be okay to run?
Yeah, I think so. We got a chassis problem. Our car's just really loose, and we don't seem to be able to. We crashed it the last race, and we fixed it, but we just aren't getting it working tonight, so hopefully we can get a little bit better and at least get up there a little bit and get some points tonight. That's what it's all about.
Okay, thank you very much. Steve Butler joins us. He's going to dive back in the car and get ready to go racing again. We'll send it back up top to Gary Lee.
It's truly amazing how articulate a driver can be when his heart is beating 1,000 miles an hour after something like that.
Well, I tell you what, they are beating fast when something like that happens. You can't say enough about how quickly an accident like that happens. I looked up, I saw a couple of them together, and next thing you know, there's 10 or 15 guys in it. Here's the fence. There's the hole in the fence. It's going to be down for a while because you can't continue running with a hole in the fence like that. So they're going to have to go over and try to repair that before we can get underway again.
Well, of course, with this red flag, some modifications and alignment will be changed on some of the cars. Rich Vogler leads it. Gordon is second. There's your top 5. We're coming back. Stay with us.
What's it like to taste the cold? Cold as a taste you can feel. Diet 7-Up with NutraSweet. Break the ice.
The Quaker State King Racing Buick, winner of the 1989 Die Hard Award for the most tough NASCAR mile, is winning again in 1990 as Brett Bodine takes first in the first Union 400. It takes a tough oil to keep a car running this tough, and it takes a tough driver to step right in, step on it, and win. But number 26 is one tough car. Brett Bodine is one tough driver, and Quaker State is one tough motor oil.
Life's full of simple pleasures, like the comfort of Levi's jeans, or a hedge forgotten.
You can find jungle animals at McDonald's in a specially priced Happy Meal. Walt Disney's classic movie, The Jungle Book, is now showing only at a theater near you. And now your kids can get a Jungle Book toy in a hamburger Happy Meal for just $1.99. There's Baloo.
You better believe it.
King Louie, Kaa the Python, and Shere Khan.
How delightful.
Wind-up toys that dance, hop, slither, do lots of wild things. The Jungle Book Happy Meal, only $1.99 at McDonald's.
And now the great Nolan Ryan demonstrates his pitching technique. The big metal shaver. It's great. How about that? And you know, Jim, it's pitches like that that'll get him into the Hall of Fame. Boy, you said it, Mel.
Well, here's the live shot of the front straightaway here at the Salem Speedway in Salem, Indiana. We are coming to you live. We have just had a major altercation which has halted the race after 18 laps were completed. A number of cars involved over in the head of the back straightaway. This is the very tail end of it. You see the cars on the inside. Rick Howerton in 22 and Bob Ciccone and Steve Butler, Wayne Hammond. You see a fire erupt. That obviously had some oil. That was not just alcohol because we saw the flames. So there had to be some oil involved in that. As you see the drivers extricating themselves from the cars, there were no injuries. But a major problem in that somebody made very hard contact with the outside wall, actually punching a hole in the guardrail. We talked about guardrails versus walls, concrete walls. There's a live shot, and there is the hole. Now, we are being told, Larry Rice, that we may start this race in about 5 minutes with that hole in the wall. That has to be very disconcerting to a race driver.
Well, I think it is. I think anybody that looks at that hole in the wall, it's got to be tough. It's got to work on you a little bit. And I don't think it's really that safe. You know, from my point of view, I don't know whether I'd want to be out there with a hole in the wall like that. They should go out there and fix that thing before they start again.
We saw the fire on the replay. There obviously, with that visible flame, had to be some oil, perhaps an oil line ruptured as opposed to a fuel tank. We've seen a lot of fires recently, oil make that alcohol fires with the invisible flame. Would you concur that we need to have some standard in adding something to the fuel to make that burn with a visible flame?
Yeah, I don't think it would hurt anything. Usually when there's a big fire like that, you can see the flames because there's so much of it, there's some heat there. The danger really lies when it gets on a driver or on a person and it's burning that person and you can't see it because it's not a huge fire, but it's still enough to really burn somebody quite badly.
Well, we've heard some drivers, like in the IndyCar ranks, say, well, if we have that additive, it will cut our horsepower. But obviously, if everybody has the same disadvantage, if you will, there's a great safety precaution to being able to see the flame.
That's right. It's just like saying if we run a hard tire, it's going to be a disadvantage. Well, if everybody has to run that same hard tire, it's not a disadvantage.
There's the youngster from Greenfield, Indiana. That is Eric Gordon. No relation to Jeff Gordon, but they're both having very, very successful early careers. And as I think you've mentioned before, if it were not for the great success of Jeff, I think Eric would get a lot more attention.
Well, that's right. And Rick Howerton also is another one of the young guys that hasn't got a lot of attention because of Jeff Gordon. When you've got a guy as great as Jeff Gordon is, it's tough not to pay a lot of attention to him.
And you mentioned Rick Howerton. His dad, Jackie Howerton, says, you know, it's really tough to watch my kid race. It's a lot more difficult than racing myself. He was in the infield watching that altercation, perhaps knew his son was involved. There's a good look at Rick there. He's out of the competition. You have a couple of youngsters, but you never put them in race cars, did you?
Not yet, but they've got the pressure on, believe me.
They told you they would be racing at some point. Well, we're going to attempt to get this race underway, and hopefully we'll have the conclusion of the Joe James Pat O'Connor. Stay with us.
Bridges Equipment Company now serving you at 2 convenient locations.
Hello, I'm Pierce Christ of Brandon. Hello, I'm Blucher Bridges in Plant City.
At Bridges Equipment, we have the largest Gravely inventory in the nation, factory direct, and we're passing the savings on to you. For home lawn care or commercial use, buy a Gravely now and save. At Bridges, your trade could be worth $500, $800, $1,000 or more towards a new Gravely. That's Bridges Equipment Company, Brandon and Plant City.
There are many places to look for a new home, and maybe you've tried them all. But here's something new. It's the Real Estate Showplace on Paragon Cable Channel 45 and Jones Intercable Channel 53. Full-color real estate on cable television. Choose from hundreds of homes organized by area. The finest realtors from all over Hillsborough County are listing their homes on the Real Estate Showplace. Find your new home on Paragon Cable Channel 45 and Jones Intercable Channel 53. The Real Estate Showplace where buyer and seller meet.
Baseball. 4 nights a week. Under the lights, ESPN baseball tonight. Tuesday, Friday, doubleheader. Wednesday, it's nothing better. Catch it Sunday, watch the fun. Sunday night, home run.
The Red Sox face the Royals on Sunday Night Baseball, live at 8 Eastern on ESPN.
Baseball tonight.
Dave Calabro, Larry Rice, and Gary Lee back with you live from Salem, Indiana, and there is the hole in the wall, the result of a multi-car crash off the second corner here on the 19th lap of a 30-lap Joe James Pat O'Connor Memorial Sprint Car Classic. However, there were no injuries, we're happy to report. Tomorrow, a lot of motorsports action here on ESPN. NASCAR's AC Sparkplug 500 from Pocono live at 12 noon Eastern Time. And then the kart Indy cars from Toronto at midnight. And coming up tomorrow, live at 8 p.m., we'll have the Boston Red Sox and the Kansas City Royals. We'll see if those guys can turn a couple of triple plays in an inning. That's coming up tomorrow. And look at this. Rich Vogler, who leads after 18 laps, has been pushed away. So we indeed are going to get a restart and perhaps can get this race in before we have to leave you this evening. I tell you what, this has been the personification of Murphy's Law. If it can go wrong, it has gone wrong. We lost the lights earlier. Happens very infrequently at a racetrack, but we lost the lights.
I'll tell you what, it has been a pretty bad night from all the things that could go wrong. We came down here only worrying about the rain, and that's the only thing that hasn't gone wrong up to this point, I think.
We drove through rain coming down from Indianapolis today, and we had some very, very light showers, or actually just a light mist before practice began. But it's been a beautiful evening, somewhat humid, but a very pleasant evening for motorsports. We take a look at Bob Fry in car number 20. He is third, will be third on the restart. Well, here's a live shot looking down the front straightaway as they're pushing some cars off. And about 40 or 45 minutes ago, this is how the front straightaway looked when the lights went out. That's scary.
Well, that's right. You can see right there, they're only going 15 miles an hour and they're almost to run over each other.
There goes a panel of lights right there.
Yeah, they've got the stop or the spotlight down in the infield and one temporary light, and that's all that was on there for a long time.
Well, the push-off continues, and once again, we have 18 laps completed. This is a 30-lap main event. We still have 12 laps to go, and a two-time USAC Sprint Car champion, Rich Vogler, leads Jeff Gordon. We're going to take a break and come back, hopefully, with the conclusion of this race.
What's it like to taste the cold? Cold as a taste you can feel. Diet 7-Up with NutraSweet. Break the ice.
Hey, good hustle, Tom. Way to go into the stands, babe.
Hey, you really killed yourself out there today, kid.
You don't have to be a Major League ball player to need Major League pain relief. Bengay Sports Balm. Real relief for sore muscles.
One Tough Motor Oil announces one tough guarantee. Ask your participating service center about Quaker State's tough lubrication guarantee. 250,000 miles or 10 years. Register your new car absolutely free at a participating service center. Use only Quaker State. Have oil and filter changed as directed at a service center. And if any lubricated engine part suffers an oil-related breakdown, you're covered. Quaker State guarantees it in writing. The Big Q is one tough motor oil.
From Orion Pictures.
Navy SEALs are paid to take risks. They're paid to die if necessary.
America's real heroes. Navy SEALs.
Grab your gear. Going to Beirut.
America's secret weapon against terrorism.
We go in there, we hit them, and forget them. That's what we do.
We're a SEAL team. We're here to get you out.
Navy SEALs. Born to dare. Trained to win.
You guys are crazy. Proud of it, baby.
Charlie Sheen, Michael Biehn, Navy SEALs.
Sounds like a real pleasure cruise.
Rated R. Now playing at theaters everywhere.
Now, for all you rookies out there, the great Nolan Ryan will demonstrate his pitching technique.
The Bic Metal Shaver, because I want to look as good off the mound as on. Before the game, it's Bic Metal. After the game, it's Bic Metal. The Bic Metal Shaver, because even good old boys want to look good. It's the choice of this right-hander, the Bic Metal Shaver. It makes me look good every time out. How's that one?
ESPN's live coverage of USAC racing has been brought to you by Ortho Lawn and Garden Products. After all, you're better off with Ortho. By Quaker State, the Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Burger King. If you want to give people what they want, sometimes you've got to break the rules. And coming up following our racing program this evening, Dave Mary standing by with baseball tonight. We are going a little long, perhaps, because we really want to show you the conclusion of this race. The cars have been pushed away. They are lining up right now. We'll take a look at the top 10 after 18 completed laps. Vogler leads it. Jeff Gordon is second. Bob Fry is third. Then it's Donnie Adams and Eric Gordon. In the second five, we have Chip Thomas, Jeff Bloom, Gene Lee Gibson, Don Schilling, and Mike Bowling. And incredibly enough, only one car apparently will not be able to continue after that altercation over there, and that was Rick Howerton.
Yes, and here's Bob Ciccone with our in-car camera. It's still intact, so it wasn't quite as bad as it looked. Well, I'll tell you what, with all that fire and everything going on down there, I thought it was going to be a really bad one. But
Ciccone's back in, and Steve Butler, who is involved, is back in. So there's Ciccone in the black number 2, and right behind him is Wayne Hammond in the blue 88, and right behind Wayne Hammond is Steve Butler, and right behind Steve is Greg Staub. They were all involved over there, but I still have some concern, some apprehension, Larry Rice, because of that hole in the guardrail coming off turn 2.
Well, the shot we saw on camera made it look a lot bigger than it really is. It's one short section of fence, so maybe it's not quite as bad as we thought when you had it really zoomed in and looked like a big gigantic hole. But still, you know, it would be safer if it was fixed. There's no doubt about that.
All right, the single file restart now. 18 laps are completed. This is a 30-lap main event, the 31st running of the Joe James Pat O'Connor Memorial, named after a couple of former Midwest sprint car champions who lived down in this area. Joe James, in fact, lived in the Salem area, and North Vernon was the home of Pat O'Connor.
It's going to be interesting to see, Gary, if anybody made any changes. With only, 12 laps to go, some of these guys could have gone to softer tires. They might have gambled that a real soft tire would last for 12 laps and would be faster. That might be the thing that Jeff Gordon might have done, or some of the guys on back a little farther. Rich Vogler's worrying about what he's going to do because he's leading. Does he change and take a chance that they're changing, or should he stay the same and take a chance that they're all going to stay the same? He doesn't know quite what to do. So it's going to be interesting to see if this has affected the way these guys run.
All right, Jeff Gordon now hanging right on the rear bumper of Vogler for the restart, and Bob Fry rides in third position, the Glenn Nivel number 20. That's the V6. There's the green flag. We have 12 laps to go, and look at this move to the inside. Well, Gordon couldn't make it work that time like he did on the original start.
No, it didn't work quite as good with Rich as it did with the other guys on the front row a while ago, but boy, he's really flying down that back straightaway. That thing looks like it's got lots of straightaway speed down that back straightaway.
Well, Vogler, of course, has switched from the V6 engine to a V8, but it's a small block V8, 310 cubic inches, so he has allowed that 200-pound weight brake under USAC rules. The heavier V8 for Gordon, who rides in second, and the V6 Chevrolet, which is 309 cubic inches for Bob Fry, who runs in third.
Yes, it's interesting that two of the cars that are lighter, have less horsepower but are lighter, are